are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy hump day. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. You can watch, you can follow, you can subscribe, all that good stuff. How are you?
I'm doing well. In a good mood today.
Why is that?
We're a day away from football games.
Right, magic numbers.
The show's pretty well lined up for the next 4 months.
We do have a lot of regular guests.
And yesterday was a good day. Got a workout in. I got a nice night's sleep. So I feel good. I'm in a good mood today.
You're working out, huh?
Trying.
You think this is a regular thing or is
Trying. My whole goal is to do it right after the show.
Okay.
Because if 35 minutes go by and this fat butt plops itself on the couch or a chair, game over.
Right. So, in other words, you need no late morning sports.
Well, that's an allowed day off.
Okay.
I mean, if I make it till next summer and the Open Championship is going on, I think I can take those days off.
Well, unfortunately, the Little League World Series stuff is done. I mean, and if you start working out before the U.S. Open tennis gets underway, so
yeah, I have interest in Serena.
Right, and she'll be playing pretty much at night for as long as she's playing.
I have zero interest in the rest of the U.S. Open.
Okay.
I really do. I'm a Wimbledon guy. Between the two tournaments, I like Wimbledon better. But without Joker in this, without Federer, it's lost some of its luster on the men's side. And I'll be watching Serena. And that'll be, like you said, that's going to be at night.
Well, right now for the U.S. Open, they've got Serena on one night and Rafa the next. So like last night was a Rafa night, tonight's a Serena night. And let's face it, we're going match to match.
Absolutely.
And she's a big underdog tonight. She's taking on the number 2 seed. So place will be packed and she'll have the crowd behind her and all that. But, you know, she's a few weeks away from 41. The game's not what it used to be. So, but it's an event. I mean, over 3 million people, by the way, were watching Monday night. Which for primetime cable tennis,
that's a monster number.
Yeah, that's a big number. So people
did they think Monday Night Football was on a week early? What exactly happened there?
Or Monday Night College football, whatever the case may be. But yesterday, a big football day because it was cut down day, and some of the moves procedural, and there'll be more moves that take place later this afternoon when teams try to grab guys back on the practice squad and whether or not they start plucking guys who got cut yesterday by other teams. And so, you know, the Dolphins, I will say, you know, this stuff interests me. You know, the closet GM. All right. The guy who has always desperately wanted to run a team of some kind.
Someone who's really wanted to put someone on the PUP list right before the 53-man roster was due.
No doubt. No doubt. Sorry, Byron Jones. Don't know what to tell you. You're going to miss the first 4 games. And I know you think you'll be ready for week 3, but I don't know what to tell you. All right.
What corner the Dolphins are going to pick up today on waivers is what you're interested in?
Or safety.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Because they are a little banged up back there. So, but the Dolphins had a fascinating just makeup of their final 53. Like they have 5 tight ends. You heard me correctly. They have 5 tight ends. Right. Exactly. The Bears from a couple years ago are like, damn, that's a lot of tight ends on the final 53. Now, you know, some of them could be not cap casualties, but roster casualties going forward if they pluck other guys off of other rosters, etc. 5 seems excessive. Technically, because some players are listed, you know, is he a stand-up linebacker or is he a defensive end? You know, but they had 9 linebackers listed on their 53 from yesterday. 9. But they only had 5 defensive linemen. If you look at their linebackers closely, there's 2 or 3 that you know, Ingram,
that are kind of hybrid guys.
Yeah, that I think of them more as D linemen than I do linebackers. So if you make it 7-7, though, you go, well, 7 linebackers. That's okay. So just, little roster things like that. They kept the third quarterback, Skylar Thompson. They did not risk losing him. So it was like right now, the Cowboys have Dak. That's it. The Lions have Goff. That's it. I mean, it's interesting how some teams are playing and we'll see if
they're playing fantasy football. I'm just taking one quarterback, and I think I'm good.
So, things like that interested me. The nooks and crannies, the goober stuff.
I got you.
That's me. That's the butter, seeping in. I like warm butter seeping in.
Well,
I'm not a cold butter guy.
I hope not. I don't even leave my butter in the refrigerator. The butter stays out.
My grandparents used to do that. They used to have soft butter. It was right there. It was on the kitchen table at all times. All right. Had a nice glass casing to it, and there was the soft butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we roll.
Right. Well, I
now,
understand.
Up until we got the cats. Now the butter has to go in a cupboard because the one cat figured out how to take the top off of the butter.
Oh, no.
And eat the butter. Oh,
wow.
They're talented.
Wow. Did that do anything to the cat?
Made it happy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The cat looked at me and went, butter.
Huh. I didn't know if that did damage to the cat or not.
Not as far as I could tell.
And
he did damage. She did damage to the butter.
How do you get that out of the whiskers? I would think that would, I mean, they bathe themselves anyway, but I would think that would take hours. Just hours. Never mind, slamming your face and cat starts acting like a dog, slamming your face into furniture and stuff, trying to get stuff, out of the crevices. I mean, I would think that would just be, that's like a kid with dessert getting it everywhere. A cat with butter?
Anybody else picturing Madden breaking this down with a telestrator right now? Because that's what Moulton had me at right there. You see, he's got the
and I mean, look at her. She's perplexed. And that just broke into Gruden.
Well, he did speak yesterday.
I know. So more on that coming up. But I would think that would be eventful for the cat, though. Butter. Man. What's the equivalent for a dog? Okay, in which all of a sudden the dog gets into and you're like, oh, man, dog loves it, but this is going to be
the garbage. I mean, it does explain the difference between the two breeds. The one,
no question.
One wants some butter, maybe some milk, and the other one's, is there some empty garbage laying around there? Let me get after it.
Then lifting the head up at the end. Miller and Moulton on this hump day. And yes, a day away from college football beginning in earnest. Week 1 is so big, it takes 5 days and nights in order to complete.
That makes it what?
Extravaganza.
Thank you very much.
So, a lot going on in the sports world. Clearly, we're ready for the NFL to begin. Do you like, by the way, that cut down days this early? I mean, think about it. We're still 8 days away from the season opener. We're 11 days away from most teams playing and 12 days away from Broncos Seahawks. I mean, this is a touch earlier than what we're used to. I like it.
I like it because it seems to give teams a lot more time to work the waiver wires, to work their rosters. I think you're going to see, an incredible amount of action today. I'm fine with it. I like the break between the third preseason game and when the first game's played.
I'm also curious in the next 24 hours, are we going to get an Ndamukong Suh signing somewhere? Are we going to get a JPP, an Eric Fisher, a Joe Hayden? I mean, there are still guys out there who can play. I mean, how much of it is teams being cheap? How much of it is these guys maybe questioning whether or not they want to keep playing?
Or questioning whether they wanted to deal with training camp at all.
Exactly. Or they're thinking, I'm going to pull a Strahan here. Sign with whoever it is I'm going to sign with and just walk right in and 3-4 practices and let's go. I'm in shape. I know what it takes. Been doing this a while.
That was, to me, it's the latter. I think it's a player having no desire to do any training camp.
So how many of those do you think are going to sign here in the next day or two? Because the other side of it is, if you have a veteran in particular on your roster week one, that's a guaranteed contract. And that a lot of teams like to keep the veteran, like the Dolphins cut Mohamed Sanu. Now, I don't know if Sanu's good enough to be part of their rotation, but some people think that that's a procedural move by the Dolphins. They'll keep him off the roster through their week one game against the Patriots. Then if they bring him back, the contract is not guaranteed for the entire season.
I think out of the four you mentioned, I think two will get signed before opening day, if you will, opening weekend. And I think the other two will get signed after.
By the way, watch for Joe Hayden with the Dolphins. And, his agent is the source. He was talking yesterday and said, hey, the Dolphins finished second for Joe Hayden when, he was a free agent there. And so and he, thinks that it depends on Jones's injury, but that, don't be surprised if Joe Hayden surfaces in Miami. Interesting.
Okay.
But so I found cut down day to be fascinating. The Eagles cut a starting safety because they went out and traded with New Orleans for a corner that they're going to move to safety. He's played 80 snaps in his whole career at safety, but they project him as a safety. And so they're willing to trade for him. They're going to have to sign him because he's a year away from free agency, so they're going to have to pay him. And they're going to move him to a new position. And they cut their starter, who's a pretty good player.
Which seems like that would be a big deal given the fact the season starts in 11 days.
Right. Thank you. Right. That seems bold.
It does.
Yeah. By the way, took a 5th and a 6th round pick to get him. I'm sorry. I think we're ahead of the curve on this.
There's no doubt.
I mean,
5th and 6th round guys don't make the team.
And if they do, they make it for a year, and then they get rid of them the following year. Right? They gave up a 5th round pick next year and a 6th round pick in 2024
for a guy that's going to play now
and play for the next 3-4 years as a starting safety. Miller and Moulton. Happy hump day. Thanks for spending it with us here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. God, I didn't know Gorbachev was still alive.
91, right?
Yeah.
His wife died quite a while ago. Just sent Bud Elliott a text and said, "Hey, I know I should have reminded you yesterday. We kind of talked 2 weeks ago about the season." So I said, probably should have reminded you yesterday, but we start this morning, 7:38. He just texted. He goes, "Oh, I know. Saw the link. I'm ready now."
He already got the
Felipe, who'd you play with?
My friend who's in the PGM program.
In the what program?
PGM at FGCU. There's like a
golf
PGA program.
Huh.
Professional golf management program.
So you, professional golf management.
Basically, so if you want to be a golf pro, Florida FGCU is one of the schools you go to.
Yeah.
So is he a really good golfer?
He's good. I mean, so there's a PAT exam that you have, I think, 7 years to pass. You have to attempt at least twice per semester, where you have to play back-to-back rounds, like all in one day.
Yeah, you got to play 36 in a day and shoot 78-78, right?
I think it's 80-80.
80-80?
80-80.
Has he done it?
Back-to-back round? No, he hasn't.
And he ain't that good.
It's hard, man. It's hard. I think he was like 82 on the first one, and then like 84.
It's hard if you're an amateur golfer. If you're someone who's going to be a golf pro, it should be simple.
Yeah.
I'm not being a jerk.
Well,
here.
he's not going to be a pro.
Yeah, what's he going to be?
I don't know.
Should be a golf pro, a
He's
PGA
doing-
golf professional.
That's true. Technically, if you
That's what you
pass
are. You're a
that,
professional
you are-
golfer.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I hang out with 30 of these guys. It's not that hard to pass.
It's a lot of pressure, though. I don't know.
I think it's a lot of pressure if you're not that good.
He's also younger than me, so he's
Okay.
got time.
The course isn't set up that hard for it.
Oh,
Not
also,
like the-
that's not that hard a course.
And they're not playing the tips, if you know what I mean.
Right.
There's 3 courses I think you can do it. One of them is Stony Brook,
Right, which isn't a hard golf.
and then the other 2, the back 9 in Stony Brook. There's some difficult holes though. The front 9's easy. Back 9's a little narrow.
Morning, Johnny Mac. Yeah, I mean, KW, you figure teams would keep at least 4 safeties, right? And 2 starters, 2 backups. Figure at least one of the backups is a special team ace. Oh, boy. Want to read the text
Yeah,
next?
yeah. Poll question. I don't think the kicker closer one's good enough. I think everybody takes closer. Would you rather be a kicker or a punter?
Okay.
I just
All right.
We're coming back.
I like it.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Top of the morning to you. Happy hump day. Let's get over it together, shall we? Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott will join us a little more than an hour for the first time this year. Seth Everett a little earlier today. He's got a thing. He needs to be done earlier. So we'll just do 8 o'clock with Seth. And we'll talk a little Gators. Tuesday is going to be our Gators day. But, we were off Monday and moving things around. Wanted to have Mark Lai on yesterday with the PGA Tour LIV thing. So Graham Hall, who's with Bud Elliott now at 24/7 Sports.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Got a pipeline.
So Graham Hall will join us, talk a little Gators 2 or so hours from now.
David, we got a lot of compliments, particularly in the Twitch chat room with the Mark Lai interview yesterday.
Okay.
People seem to really like it.
Well, he's very passionate, and he didn't hold back.
He did not. But with the good also comes the bad, because opened up the text line this morning and noticed that we got blasted for our Mark Lai interview. And let me read you the text. Come on, guys. Enough of your love for the Live Tour. Understand your views as independent contractors, but why continually Mark Lai? He was an average journeyman PGA Tour member, so I get why he loves the new tour. How about putting on Strange or Azinger, who you have a relationship with, to get their perspective with? Well, stop with the growing the game. America's being objective about world golf events. It's a money grab, plain and simple. Sorry, but I've never turned your program off. Never do that. Blah, blah, blah. Same justification stuff on Live, bud.
Fair enough. And there's no doubt it's a cash grab. I mean, I don't think we've ever tried to say it's anything but.
In fact, we have said, Greg, you're growing the game stuff. You've said nothing about it.
Right. We've said that that's crap unless.
And if we interviewed Greg, and if we get the opportunity to, we will ask him that. We will point blank ask him these questions.
Right. Now.
And I don't care if he gets up and walks away. We've had a long relationship with him. We think he'd answer the questions.
Right. And we believe that they are saying growing the game that they're saying worldwide. Okay. But they're not articulating it well at all. I mean, they're not. If we were to sit down with the LIV folks, we would say, listen, first off, can you just admit what the guys who are joining now are doing? Could you just admit it's the money? I mean, both Harold Varner and Cam Smith yesterday were like, well, yeah, of course I'm here because of the money. Now, there are actually a couple of other perks also that will make my life better. But yeah, of course I'm here for the money.
It's an insurance policy. I mean, look at Will Zalatoris just pulled out of a tournament with a back injury. We don't know. A back in golf, there's no worse injury you could have.
And I will say this also, I haven't been unable to get Paul Azinger on the show, which, has not been the case in the last 5 years. I don't think this is something he wants to talk about. Okay. And I've been very open in saying, listen, I'm going to ask you about this. Well, he hasn't come on. Now, Curtis Strange has come on twice and he hates the LIV. And we threw it in underhanded and he crushed it twice, and so, if you'd like, we can get him on to do it again. Okay. But in the second time we had him on, he did say, I really don't want to talk about this anymore. And we were like, well, okay. So, so that's why, also, Mark's willing to come on.
This just in, we don't have a gigantic budget for guests. So when they say yes,
right,
we put them on. And that's why we were so proud yesterday of what our football lineup is, because a lot of people are giving us a lot of their time for basically nothing.
And hoping to get Michael Collins on here shortly to talk about it. Because, the LIV has put together a nice little 48-man field now. And they're going to play 2 tournaments in September. And basically there's no meaningful PGA Tour until the very end of the month, in which you have the President's Cup. And I was thinking about it this morning, about how the President's Cup probably should be replaced by a PGA versus LIV competition, in which it would become must-see TV.
Now, I don't think the PGA Tour would be interested at all in doing that.
And I think the only way they would is if they got all the money.
Yeah, and I still don't. We kind of finished the show with this yesterday in our bonus hour and got into this. It's the only way they would do it, and I still don't think they would do it.
Well, and to me, that's another reason why, if you're the LIV, you challenge them to it. Okay? You challenge them. You make them be chicken.
The way I see it, it's the Champions League of golf.
Right. Okay? Just have, one versus the other. If you're the LIV, challenge them to it. and they'll make them him and haw, and then, you play the chicken card and all that. But I mean, let's be honest. All right. If you're a golf fan, you'd be all in.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you Ryder Cup one year and whatever it is
because
that would be called.
We've never really cared about the President's Cup. It's a made-for-TV cash grab. That's all it's ever been.
Yeah.
They tried to get a way to get the international players to have some event against the U.S. players.
Right. And I will say, I give the PGA Tour credit. In that case, they were trying to include those elsewhere.
You could argue the President's Cup really grows the game.
Yes. Yes.
It's had Asian players in it, South African players, Australian players. So
And
it is.
how ironic that twice Greg Norman was a President's Cup captain of the international team. So it would be ironic. And I think you're right. I think ultimately they would say, sorry, our schedule's too busy. We've got the Ryder Cup. We've got the President's Cup. We just don't have room for this.
But you could be Norman. I host one of your tournaments. We've got this QBE shootout that we have every year in Naples. How about that becomes the Live Tour versus the PGA Tour?
And the PGA Tour would probably say, it's the wrong time of year. The golfer's not interested in playing something that in December. It just doesn't work. Doesn't fit. Not interested. We don't have any. I mean, if you're the PGA Tour, I think you're right. I think they would come out and say, we don't want anything to do with
everything to lose and nothing to gain with that event.
Well, and also we just don't want to be associated with you
Bingo.
in any way, shape, or form. So you disgust us. I don't even want to hear your 3 letters mentioned.
In fact, I've heard the PGA Tour is going to be a lot like what Ohio State is, where they just cross out M's on everything.
Man, it would be something, though.
Hole 5 is going to look really strange.
And I don't think now they'll ever let a tournament be shortened to 54 holes. Okay, if there's rain and wind or what have you, they'll finish that sucker on a Tuesday if they have to play 72.
There's no doubt there.
So sorry to that gentleman, that we honked off there, but that's some of, why our golf guest list is what it is. And the other thing I would say is, we've had Ron Cyrack who just lights the LIV on fire, and we've had him on a lot. And it's not like Jason Sobel or Bob Herrig have, thrown bouquets at the LIV either.
But between the market that we call home, Fort Myers, Naples, and the market, our biggest market, Tampa, St. Pete, these are 2 of the 3 biggest golf markets in the country. And we talk probably more golf than most national shows would or regional shows would, but we know where our audience is.
And quite frankly, we've had good success getting Golf Channel guests on. This is not something they want to talk about. I mean, so that's why, sometimes it's not just our show, but that's also sometimes a TV or radio sports show has the guest list that they have. There are times in which there are issues that are like, no, I'm good. So Miller and Moulton.
Poll question time.
Oh, I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
Bring it. High heat.
Well, we were talking yesterday. What would you rather be, punter or kicker? I'll throw another one in, long snapper.
I like it.
Punter, kicker, long snapper. You're trying to make the 53. You could only be one. Which one would you want to be?
Special teams. That's the focus on Miller and Moulton.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, kickers and punters can get paid.
They do now a little bit. Well, Tucker just got paid.
Who gets paid more, kickers or closers?
Closers.
Oh, closers.
Sure.
By about 5 times.
Yeah, Al Del Greco was a celebrity golf, specialist, basically. So was Rick Rhoden.
See, I don't know. Because would you rather be Justin Tucker or Edwin Diaz? And
Edwin Diaz. Make a lot more money.
Edwin Diaz, and it's not even an argument. That's why I changed this, because it would be 95% to 5%.
I don't know. I think it's close. But closers are badass. What am I saying?
How about the trumpet guy at the game getting interviewed? That interview went on a little long.
Yeah, it did.
I like that he announced he'd be back for the World Series, though.
I think he's coming back tonight. I think he really wants to, do it live.
Well, probably picked the wrong series.
No doubt. Wait, you're coming. We may not get a chance to close against these guys, I mean, Tucker is the highest paid kicker, Felipe, in football. He just signed a 4-year, $24 million extension.
And he's maybe the best kicker that's ever played.
That's $6 million a year. Do you know what Edwin Diaz, who's a free agent, is going to get on the market? He's going to get 3 times that annually.
Damn. How old is he? Diaz.
He's like 26, 27.
How old is Edwin Diaz? He's 28.
I mean, he's going to get paid. Paid.
What's a better team name? Hand me a cold Lance Chark or Trey Ball for Lance Stevenson?
These are his fantasy team names. How about Felipe's Freaks?
Yeah, really.
A Lance Chark.
This is like their new LA thing. They bring in a person on the late. I mean,
The mayor is in the building. Oh, no. What's he about to say about this?
Okay, so I can't do this here. I saw this tweet or this TikTok of redacted things of Trump and the generals.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
If it's true, it's
Funny?
no, it's
Oh,
you want to because it's so disturbing, it's funny.
gotcha.
But I don't know if it's true. That's why
Straight out of the Onion type thing? SNL?
It's just the shit he was saying to his generals
Gotcha.
about the whole, the parade.
Right.
He didn't want wounded guys because they don't make me look good.
Well, that's right.
That
Point.
I was like, God dang.
Ten seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks for being with us. Bud Elliott, 1 hour from now. College football season kicks off in earnest tomorrow, so that's why we have Bud today. Did you post the poll question? And full disclosure, so yesterday we're kicking around, and I think it was Felipe that mentioned it.
It was.
Who would you rather be, a kicker or a closer?
But a beloved kicker or a beloved closer.
All right. But, I mean, I don't think people think in terms of kickers or closers who aren't any good, but we got it. And we thought that was a good question, but at the end of the day, we thought that it would end up being kind of a blowout vote. And we try to have a vote in which, it's not sure which choice is going to win. So we kind of took that and ran with it in a different direction.
Went all football, all special teams. Almost threw returner on there to really foil you, but I thought that would win.
And so, a lot of teams yesterday, and getting down to 53, they kept 3 special teamers, a kicker, a punter, and a snapper. So we're asking, which would you rather be? A kicker, a punter, or a snapper?
Kicker for me.
I'd rather be a snapper.
No pressure. Can do it for 14, 15 years.
Oh, I don't know.
Some of those guys have done it a long time.
No, but in terms of the pressure, I mean, there's...
Yeah, but not the pressure of being the kicker.
True. I mean, but...
No one ever blames the long... When do you hear about the long snapper
You
getting...
got to remember, I'm a Giants fan. All right, we lost a playoff game to the Niners because Mike Junkin blew a snap.
What year was that?
2002.
Okay.
All right, and Junkin...
I'm just trying to get perspective on...
Junkin had a tremendous career. He was a long snapper for over 15 years. They actually brought him out of retirement. He was like 40, 41 years old, and it's the only thing he'll be remembered for.
What about a holder?
That's a backup.
Usually it's a punter or the quarterback.
Yeah, usually the punter now. It used to be the backup QB. Now it's primarily the punter.
And the last time we remember a guy blowing a hold, it was Romo.
Romo. That slick ball in Seattle.
Ended up being Parcells' last game as a coach in the league. 2006 Cowboys.
Oh, see, I thought it was Ray Finkel.
Well played. Well played. It's time now for...
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
All right. We've been talking about a cut down day in the NFL. 4 o'clock yesterday. Teams had to be down to 53. Where do we begin? Dolphins with an interesting roster configuration at the moment. They went with 3 quarterbacks, kept the youngster, Skylar Thompson, 5 tight ends, 9 linebackers. Amongst those, they said goodbye to wide receivers Mohamed Sanu, Lynn Bowden, and Preston Williams. Sony Michel at running back let go. Byron Jones put on the PUP list, so he'll miss the first 4 games of the year. Jags kept just 2 quarterbacks, let go a couple of recent draft picks that surprised those that cover the team. Jay Tufali, a defensive tackle, and Gregory Jr., a cornerback. Tampa Bay surprised many. Scotty Miller stays. Tyler Johnson cut at wide receiver. Logan Ryan was cut. People freaked out. That's a procedural move. He's a veteran. He doesn't have to go through waivers. This was done so that Ryan Jensen could be on the roster. Then they'll move him to IR. The hope is that Jensen can still play at some point this year, maybe in December or January. Logan Ryan will be with the Buccaneers in a few days. Got to trust me on that one. This is interesting. Remember last year there was virtually no change to the Bucs roster? Won the Super Bowl, and they basically, as much as you can, they brought it back. A third of the 53-man roster is different. 18 new guys on the Bucs 53-man roster.
Poached in free agency, lost a couple of guys of retirement.
Yep. But 18's a big
Yeah,
number.
it's a big number.
For a team that was the 2 seed last year in the NFC. Bills, by the way, put their standout corner, Tre'Davious White, on the PUP list, so he'll miss the first 4 games. They also cut tight end O.J. Howard and running back Duke Johnson. They're pretty good.
You know, and their fan base knows it, and they're starting to annoy me because every Bills fans I run into. So what do you think the Bills are going to do this year? They're going to win the Super Bowl. Oh, man, don't say that. Well, what the hell do you want out of me?
They want to hear that they're good. You're really good. I like your chances. And then you need to stop there because the next part is just
Super Bowl or bust. What do you want? You're the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
I know.
And you know that you are.
Right.
So when you go ask people what they think of the Bills, all you're expecting is, well, you guys are favored to win the Super Bowl. Yes, I went banana in the tailpipe.
Wow. They are really getting to you.
Well, it's because they're not like a Patriot fan. They don't wear the Bills hat with the Bills shirt with the Celtic shorts. They sneak up on you more now.
In part because they only have 2 teams, and the other one has been dreadful. The Eagles traded a 5th-round pick next year and a 6th-round pick in 2024 to the Saints for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They're going to move him to safety. He's only played 80 snaps there in his whole career. It's a bold move. I like it. Hope it works. Raiders, speaking of bold moves.
Wow.
They cut Alex Leatherwood. He was a 1st-round pick last year. But remember, new coach, new GM. It's an $8 million cap hit.
Tampa?
Well, they don't need a tackle, but I would claim him on waivers. His salary's only $1.3 million for this year, and I would say we're moving you to guard.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you claim him, I think you can do that. If he clears waivers, then he wants to be a tackle. There's more money at it. And so he then will pick the team that still views him as a tackle. I'm totally with you, though. If I'm a team
slide him into guard.
Yes.
And I'm
don't give him a choice.
I'm going to introduce him to Tom Brady and say, protect him.
Right. And don't give him a choice. If you claim him, he has no choice. If he clears waivers, he gets to dictate where he's going and what position he's playing. I'm totally with you. Remember, there's a couple guys. Robert Gallery was drafted as a tackle. They moved him inside to guard. Eric Flowers, drafted by the Giants to be a tackle, got cut. Dolphins and Washington moved him to guard. He played pretty well. So, maybe Leatherwood's just not a tackle. Where do the Bucs need help?
On the inside.
Right. And worst case scenario, it becomes your swing tackle. And both your tackles, the left tackle's older, and Wirfs is nursing an injury to start the year, and they're hoping he can get through the season. So to me, Leatherwood, $1.3 million, Bucs can afford it. And you say, hey, you could play anywhere, guard or tackle, dude. We'll plug you in at guard right now, but if one of these guys gets hurt, we'll move you out to tackle, which is what you'll want, right? Make more money there. So also the Raiders got rid of 2019 2nd-round draft pick Trayvon Mullen, a corner. Arizona acquired him for the old, 7th rounder. If he plays really well, it becomes a 6th. John Gruden in the news yesterday. John Gruden has not been in the news since October. John Gruden was in Little Rock Speaking at an event, he said, quote, "I'm ashamed," unquote, "by my emails. No excuses," unquote. But then went on to say, "I believe I'm a good person." He asked for forgiveness and that hopefully I get another shot. I don't see that happening. He's 59 years old. Think somebody hires him as a coordinator? Call plays?
Wow.
Remember, he is currently suing the NFL.
I don't know if he'd take that job.
I think he would. I mean, because broadcasting is done. There's no network that'll hire him. Not with those emails. All right. I mean, Flores, the Steelers hired him, and he's suing the league. So you can be suing the league and have somebody hire you. I think there's a chance somebody would hire him to call plays. And I think at this point, he's desperate. He'd take a gig. He's 59.
Interesting.
Baseball. This bears watching. Shane McClanahan scratched from the start last night in Miami for the Rays. Rays beat the Marlins 7-2. They're still the 4 seed. They're a half a game ahead of Seattle, who beat Detroit 9-3. And Seattle's a half a game ahead of Toronto, who beat the Cubs 5-3.
Starting to get a little separation from Baltimore.
Baltimore lost to the Guardians 5-1. They're 3 back of the Jays. Cleveland has a 1.5 game lead on the Twins, who won their 5th straight. They beat Boston 10-5. Twins are also just 3 back in the wild card chase. You know, we put the fork in the Red Sox last week. Can we put the fork in the White Sox this week?
Yes.
They're now 6 back in the Central. They lost to the Royals 9-7. La Russa, by the way, missed the game. Doctor's orders. He's undergoing more tests today. 77 years old. Judge, it is 51st for the Yankees. A 3-run shot. 7-4 Yankees over the Angels. Dodgers are 52 games over 500, and we're not in September yet. They beat the Mets 4-3. Mets caught a break. Braves lost at home to Colorado 3-2. Their 3rd loss in a row. Atlanta's 3 back with 32 to play. You know, Arizona trailed the Phillies 7-0 Monday night, scored 13 consecutive runs. They started the game last night scoring the first 8 runs of the game. They scored like 21 or 22 consecutive runs in like 12 innings against Phillies pitching. They won 12-3. Phillies just a half a game ahead of the Padres for the 5 seed. Padres beat the Giants 4-3. Milwaukee. You know, the Brewers' last game against the Pirates for the season is today. Good, because the Pirates have owned the Brewers. If the Brewers miss the playoffs, it'll be because of the Pirates. Brewers lost to Pittsburgh 4-2. They're 2.5 behind San Diego for the final playoff spot in the National League. 6 back of the Cardinals, who lost to the Reds 5-1. Oakland beat Washington. Houston doubled up Texas. U.S. Open, 2nd seed on the men's side. Rafa Nadal needed 4 sets, but he won. Venus Williams, who got a wild card into the tournament, lost in straight sets. Is that her last match? She's 42. Naomi Osaka was beaten by American Danielle Collins 7-6, 6-3. Did you hear Dion talking about
no water?
How dire it is in Jackson, Mississippi, the capital of the city, no running water. And so as Dion says, so we have no water, which means we have no AC, we have no ice, and we can't use the toilets. Dion's like, I think I'm going to have to move the team to a hotel for a couple days. I'm wondering if he's going to have to do that on his own credit card.
Probably.
In all seriousness.
Probably.
Jackson State, by the way, plays FAMU in Miami on Sunday. And, of course, they got their own issues with player eligibility and players pointing out how the school has completely let them down, that the players have done nothing wrong. The football coach is totally behind the players.
What were you telling me? The players knelt during the
at
the
end
fight
of the game.
song and the school alma mater, not during an anthem, so don't get all uppity, but basically because of how these players have been treated by the university. At the conclusion of the game, they played the fight song in the alma mater. The players knelt,
right, in protest of the fight song, because there are words in the fight song in which they said, yeah, this school's not living up to the words in the fight song. So they agreed to play, though. And they said they sent a Jane You Ignorant Slut letter to the president and vice president of the school, but they did play against North Carolina, got the $450,000 payday for the school, and got beat by 32. One other sports note, NHL, Sabres signed 24-year-old Tage Thompson to a 7-year, $50 million deal. He scored 38 goals last year. And that was
the starting five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Jimmy Bird in our Twitch chat room said, hey, Moulton, Fox hired Urban Meyer back. Don't say that Gruden can't get a job. Yeah, there's a little difference. And by a little difference, I mean there's a canyon difference. Okay, Urban Meyer, all right, was belligerent. And Urban Meyer may have cheated on his wife. John Gruden has emails that are homophobic and then some. Trust me when I tell you how network television works. He ain't getting hired.
Not a chance.
That ship has sailed. He can coach, but he can't comment on the games. No way. Ain't happening.
Not just homophobic, but comments against women. There's
misogynistic.
Too
the whole
many
deal.
things that hold him back from ever being on broadcast television again.
Coaching? Oh, please. But broadcasting? No, not going to happen. I mean, come on. What network would bring that grief onto themselves? For him? No. Mm-mm. Tom Brenneman still has not been hired back by a network after his, when he referred to San Francisco as that fag city. All right. And his career is over. So no, John Gruden can't broadcast again. Coach? Sure. David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, the Steelers are a 3-quarterback organization, though. Always have been.
Jimmy, it's not that we think they have morals, that when you make the homophobic move towards the networks, you're not getting hired. That's all that it is, Jimmy. I'll make whatever bet you want to make.
Jimmy, name the network. Michael Vick, okay, also Michael Vick went to prison, and it was dogs. Dogs don't outrank humans. They don't. Also, he served his time. And in this country, if you're punished and you serve your time, we have a tendency to go, oh, I mean, look at Mike Tyson. That was rape. And look at how rehabilitated Tyson is. I think Gruden's going to have to go to college if he really wants to coach. And I don't mean a head coach. I mean to call plays.
Yeah, no way he goes back to the NFL.
His brother hires him.
I mean, it's possible. It is.
But does Goodell even have
mean,
the power
Andy-
to not allow that?
No, he can't. No. Well, I mean, guys, we'll just agree to disagree. And I'll take the bet with all of you. I really would. Every one of you. I'll empty my bank account on this one. Well, obviously, ESPN's not going to hire him. There's no way CBS will hire him. All right. So now you're down to 2.
Well, and then the streaming services, if somebody jumps in. But
I'd be surprised. I'd be shocked, actually.
we need a pod.
This, and I'm not even kidding, will be so much easier when the NBA is back. There's always highlights.
Yeah, but there's
dunks.
highlights, but then there's a pod.
10 seconds.
Want to go match point with Rafa?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our poll question. So we're going to give you a spot on a 53-man NFL roster, but it's going to be a special team role. Which do you want it to be? Kicker, punter, or snapper?
In honor of Mike Westhoff, our special teams coach.
Right. So there you go. Hey, we're putting you on an NFL team. Kicker, punter, or snapper? Which would you rather it be?
Love that you went long snapper.
I'm a fan. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? There have been players in the league who in college are like, I should probably learn how to do this. It might help me stick somewhere. I'm a Giants fan. The Giants had a backup linebacker, Steve Diassi, who added 10 years to his career, made the team as a snapper. When he couldn't, go sideline to sideline anymore. It was kind of like, well, I mean, he knows the signals. If we're really in a bind, I guess he could, finish out a game for somebody who pulled a hamstring. But, he's a good snapper. So, we'll keep him. He's valuable. It's kind of like the wide receiver who serves as the third quarterback. He's the number 5 receiver. He's the number 3 quarterback. Who's that guy for you? Number 7 linebacker and the snapper. Oh, okay. And he's big enough. He can run down. He can tackle somebody, if he has to.
Well, that's where it's become now. As Westhoff said on our show, the guys used to keep for special teams. There's not too many teams that are keeping specific special teamers anymore.
No, there were quite a few special teams aces who got cut yesterday. Now, we've said it many times. The next 24 to 72 hours, there's going to be a lot of maneuvering with these rosters.
But the fact of the matter is that teams, when you were talking about the Dolphins and how they kept a bunch of linebackers and in a bunch of tight ends, and that's unusual. But the makeup of a team is changing right now because special teams is less and less part of the game. So with the way rosters are made up, you may see a few changes in the coming years because that part of the game is being eliminated.
So that's our poll question. At Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, floridasportsnetwork.com, and vote. Hey, I got a question. Give me the second place team in the NFC that's going to miss the playoffs. This is simple math. There's only room for 7. In theory, we all know 4 first place teams going to make it. Now, last year we had 3 teams from the NFC West. So I'm going to assume, for sake of, humoring me with this question, that we don't have a division in the NFC that has 3 playoff teams. And I think you and I think Arizona's going to take a step back, if for no other reason, no DeAndre Hopkins the first 6 weeks of the season. They won't get off to as good a start as they have the last couple of years. So if you humor me with that, there's not going to be 3 teams from a division make the playoffs.
They may go from 3 last year to 1 this year. It may be the NFC West. Because I think both, it's either the West or the East, but I think the Cowboys and Eagles both make it.
Okay.
I think that the Packers win their division, but I think the Vikings are a playoff team.
Right.
And I think the Saints are a sneaky playoff team.
So you think right now the second place team, if you had to put my $20, right now you're betting against the second place team in the West.
The West or the East is where my head says right now.
So you're in on the Vikings and Saints then?
I'm in on the Vikings offense a lot. I think their offense is going to be so much better.
Okay. I mean, it was decent the last couple of years. It was really the defense that's held them back the last 2 years, but I don't think their defense can be any worse.
No.
I mean, they were bottom quarter of the league each of the last 2 years. It's ironic Zimmer, the defensive guy, ended up losing his gig over his beloved defense. So you're going either whoever you think is going to finish second in the East, and I believe you think it'll be Dallas.
I do.
Versus whoever it is you think is going to finish second in the West, and I'm assuming you think it's the Niners?
Niners or Cardinals.
Okay.
I'm not sold on Trey Lance.
Well, but, now.
Yeah, but how long are they going to give him? I
think it's 6 weeks. I looked at the schedule. 2 soft ones, 2 hard ones, 2 soft ones. And then the schedule gets hard. And so to me, I think if you look at it for the Niners, and if you want to play the schedule game, you look at the first 6 weeks and you go, well, they're going to be favored in at least 4 of these games, and maybe even a slight favorite in a 5th. So they got to be 4-2. And if they're not, then I think that, we go to the bullpen. They were 3-5 last year, and Jimmy G, while banged up, they finished 9-3 last year if you include the playoffs. Beat some good teams. Beat the Rams, almost beat them twice. Went to Dallas, went to Green Bay in the playoffs.
And there's part of me that just thinks Dallas is going to take a big step back this year. A big step back this year.
Because a lot of attention's been on the AFC West and, how many are going to make it, who's going to finish 4th. It's just, to me, we've got a lot of below 500 teams, we think, in the NFC. We don't have what we think are a lot of good teams. We think there's 8, maybe 9, quote unquote, good teams in the NFC. Whereas in the AFC, we think we have 13.
Right.
And so, who do you think is going to be the second place team in the NFC that misses? We still have a week before we have to make picks, but it was just something I was thinking about yesterday.
Well, and you start looking at the bottom of the over-unders. Now you've got Atlanta's 4.5. Seattle, just NFC teams.
Right.
Seattle's 4.5.
Oof.
Or 5.5, I'm sorry, for Seattle. The Lions and Bears the Lions, Bears, Panthers, all 6.5 wins.
I'd go under on the Bears, over on the Lions.
The Commanders are at 7. These are the teams they think will not win more games.
Right.
Commanders 7.5. Giants 7.5. Saints are right at 8.5.
By the way, I got to go under on the Giants, don't you?
Cardinals are 8.5. Under on at 7.5 on the Giants? Yes.
I was going to say that seems high. 7.5. Damn, that seems high. I know they'll be better than last year, but their schedule is harder. Both Eastern divisions play harder schedules this year. NFC North has a soft schedule.
They do.
Could help Green Bay again in their pursuit of trying to be the 1 seed, although at this rate, go on the road, guys.
Cowboys and Packers have the same over-under.
Wow.
At 10.5.
Yeah, got to go over on Green Bay.
I'd go under on Dallas.
Yeah. Let's just say you're right. Vikings and Saints are going to make it. And you think it's going to come down to, say, Niners or Cowboys? You could see one of them missing the playoffs at 10-7, right?
Yes. Look at all those 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 numbers.
Yeah.
Someone's got to win games.
Right. A lot of bad teams in the NFC in comparison to the AFC. I'm guessing there are only 3 teams in the AFC that have an over-under of under 8.5, which is Vegas's way of saying we see you as a winning team.
You got Houston at 4.5, the Jets at 5.5, the Jags at 6.5.
And my guess is that that's it.
One more, believe it or not.
Who?
The Pittsburgh Steelers are at 7.5.
Whoa. Gotta bet the over.
And that's it.
Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, and you can win 8, have a losing season, and still win the bet. You got to go over there.
Mitchell Trubisky.
I understand. The defense is really good.
It is.
They'll win their 19-17 games, and they'll be happy to do it. It will not be aesthetically pleasing, although the fans will love it.
They're going to run the football and play defense.
Exactly.
There's no one in Pittsburgh that's going to be disappointed in that style of football.
Waving them towels like crazy. We got a first down. Yep.
Yelling third down a lot.
Exactly.
When their defense is on the field.
Defense. Defense. Yep. They'll be thrilled. Play a bunch of close games.
Bang on the back of chairs with that defense chant.
They'll root for bad weather every week. This will help our cause. Oh, yeah. We've got this season pegged. Betting the over, though. So that's just something I was thinking about. Give me the second place team in the NFC that you think is going to miss the playoffs.
Text the show. 21,000 is the number. FSN radio is the keyword if you've never done so before. It's where you can text compliments or criticisms. We take them all and answer all equally.
Last year, the Vikings were a second place team that finished below 500, missed the playoffs. The Saints were a 9-8 team that lost a three-way tiebreaker and missed the playoffs. Actually, a two-way tiebreaker with the Eagles because the Eagles beat them head-to-head. So those were the two second-place teams last year. You think they're both making it this year. I do also.
One of them's doing it as a division winner, though.
What?
The Eagles.
No, I was talking.
Yeah.
I was talking Vikings and Saints.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Saints intrigue me.
Week 2, by the way, they host Tampa.
After Tampa has to play Dallas week 1.
Right.
The Saints are an intriguing team with that Bucs offensive line. They really are. But then there's Jameis.
Against his old team.
But no Sean Payton helping Jameis.
I understand. But a healthy Kamara and Michael Thomas will go a long way.
They will.
Yep. So that's just something to, just curious. In our Twitch chat room there, text line, second place NFC team that you think misses the playoffs, because one of them will. It's guaranteed.
Miller and Moulton. Great show lined up today. We will switch gears and talk more college football with Bud Elliott coming up in just a little while. Seth Everett on the show as well, and we'll talk some Gators in the 8 o'clock hour.
Sounds like a plan.
Why don't we get after our Clutch Vodka play of the day?
You know what, Mark? That's Clutch.
With a K.
It's coming up next. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. Let's get over the hump together, shall we? Here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So did like some other landscaping company get pissed or something?
I don't know. He probably did it without permission because they're rich and think they can do whatever they want.
Okay. Once again, fire them over it. You don't just pull them aside and go, can't do this.
Right.
Okay.
Do you
do it
really
again.
want your high school baseball team in the news for this?
Well, not only that, I mean, nowadays the whole team can transfer. And another school can hire them. The whole team will move over.
And not in Collier, though.
Florida.
Is that?
Yeah, you could do it anywhere.
You know, Cincinnati, Arkansas might be the best game of the day.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, it could be an ugly day for the SEC if Cincinnati. I mean, think about it. Utah should win. Cincinnati wins. And you're going to get Georgia probably winning.
Mm-hmm.
But there's, I mean, if Florida State beats LSU, and you could have Cincinnati, Florida State, and Utah all win. That'd be a good week for the rest of college football, not named the SEC.
Yes.
Now, if Oregon could pull it off, it would be unbelievable.
So you don't want me to get any audio?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, I mean, guys, I'll say this. I thought the Eagles got out of the Wentz deal a lot easier than the Rams got out of the Goff deal. I mean, the Rams took a massive cap hit and had to give up valuable draft capital. I think the Eagles got off easier. But you can buy your way out of problems. I mean, you know, that's life and sports.
Well, DC, if you listen to everybody, the Lions are going to win 8 games this year. That's what it's done for them. I always love when I get tweets and I just read their bio. I just was curious because he sent along, sent a Michigan picture. Just want to see look what second line. Follower. Yep. Okay. Great.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott, in a little more than 15 minutes, he'll join us a little early on Twitch, for those of you that take us in via the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel, and we're very thankful and happy for those of you that do. Text into the show if you never have before. Keyword FSN Radio. Send it to 21,000. FSN Radio to 21000, and then you can text, and you can do what the guy did late yesterday. He left us a series of you guys suck, annoying the hell out of me. All this golf talk. You're being way too nice to the LIV. I hate them. I hate you guys when you do it.
And I will say that David and I are on the same side of this one. We don't think that the LIV Tour is really doing anything. We get the money grab, but we think the PGA Tour is getting owned by the LIV Golf right now, and that the play is. Did you see the starter sheet for this week's tournament?
It's a very good field.
It's a really good field. If this was on television,
yes,
I'd watch.
I do think that that's a miscalculation. I get the theory behind it, which is because they could have bought their way onto television this year. I mean, let's face it, they're buying the players. You don't think they could buy the airtime? Of course they could have. And one of the networks would have aired it, probably Fox. But the LIV series said, we don't want to buy time this year, because if you buy it once, what's to stop the networks from always going, well, we're not going to pay for it. You're going to pay us for it.
I will say TaylorMade with the ads they're running with DJ Prevalent and all their ads, you wonder, because it seemed early on in this LIV Golf versus PGA Tour, the PGA Tour had all their manufacturers. You found no LIV guys in ads.
Right. Guys have been edited out, the whole deal.
But not with TaylorMade.
Well, and we're wondering, so which sponsors are going to jump on board next year? One would think the sponsors are talking to the LIV saying, we're going to be on television in the States. That would kind of help.
And then they have to assess how much grief they're going to get for supporting this tour.
Right. I mean, this is going to calm down here really soon. I mean, the LIV now is basically, this is our tour. These are the guys we've signed. I don't think they're going to do many more. So this is going to be our 48, and they're going to play every one of our events next year. Well, the PGA Tour beginning next year is going to have their reconfigured tour in which they're forcing their top players to play in 13 of their now top tier events. So 2023 actually should be a really good year for golf if you're into golf.
The only question is, where and when will the LIV Tour Golf be able to be viewed?
Right. But the war, I think, essentially will, I don't want to say be over, because
it'll be a bit of a ceasefire, though.
Yeah. I mean, they'll both be doing their own thing. Very rarely they'll come in contact with one another.
Until they get to court.
In early 2024.
Right.
And I think the only way that all what breaks loose is if one of the majors decides to ban all the golfers from LIV.
And I don't think that will happen.
I'm holding out on the PGA Championship.
I got you.
The guy who runs the PGA of America is best friends with Jay Monahan of the PGA Tour. It's the one major that I'm holding out on. We don't see how the two opens can. It goes against the whole very existence of, that whole open thing.
Right. The Masters, we don't think will.
No.
The PGA could. I'm hoping that Mickelson shows up for the PGA next year and wants to play.
I would think he would. Now, I do think it'll be interesting if between now and next year, whether or not the LIV series can get world golf ranking points, or they're told by the OWGR that, well, we'll give them to you, but you have to make this adjustment. And is that adjustment playing 72 holes? Is that adjustment having some kind of cut? What is it? But that to me will be interesting, because otherwise, then all these golfers, Taylor Gooch actually would have qualified for the Tour Championship. Even after not playing the second half of the year on the PGA Tour because he had a win and where he was. He actually, if you didn't exclude him from the FedEx standings, he would have finished 29th. So, but this is happening to all these guys in the world golf rankings. I mean, they're just sliding down, which means they slide out of the top 50, which means you start getting disinvited to majors.
Which will show you how important it's going to be for these guys when they have their opportunities to play in majors to play really well. But it is now time for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. And it is a highlight-less play of the day today. Because to me, and I don't know about you, David, but I think Shane McClanahan getting pulled yesterday is the play of the day.
Unfortunately, this could be very big for the Rays. I mean, usually when something like this happens, it leads to at least a stint on the IL, like Verlander, and his calf injury. Now he's 39, and I think they have such a big lead. I think the Astros are playing it safe, but he's now on the IL. Gonsolin with the forearm strain put on the IL by the Dodgers. But McClanahan warming up for his start yesterday, and they got to shut him down. And it's his left shoulder, and he's left-handed. That's not good.
That's just terrible news for the Rays, who are fighting for this wild card spot, trying to fight to get the 4 seed, and they're already so banged up as it is. They've done this with a mass unit going on all year long, and I just think this is if it turns out to be anything serious, this could be devastating to the Rays. Hate making it the play of the day, but I don't know if there's anything that happened yesterday that's more important to a team than this injury is to the Rays, David.
Judge did hit his 51st.
But we've kind of had a revolving Judge play of the day here for about 2 weeks.
I was going to say, between Judge and Pujols, we could just keep, doing play of the day whenever they both homer. I'm just excited. It looks like Albert's going to catch A-Rod. I mean, got to be honest, 3 weeks ago, I didn't think he'd catch A-Rod. Never mind talk of getting to 700.
It was so funny because Felipe said, do you think he's going to get to 700? And I mean, he couldn't get it out of his mouth.
No.
And you were like, just get past
Come
A-Rod.
on, Felipe, what are you talking about? 700? He was at 689 or something like that when you said it.
Look, he's going for it. Okay, anything's possible. Kobe scored 60 in his last game.
It is now. But when you asked that question, he was 11 away, hadn't been doing it. He had hit. That was before this streak started. And I do think the fact that the Cardinals leads
6
and seems to be growing, Albert may see a few more fastballs than.
Well, he's also seeing more playing time because he's been on such a tear. I mean, they basically were not playing him against right-handed pitching, but he went on such a tear here that Pujols is now getting at bats against all pitching. My guess is they may wean him back a little bit. He is 42 after all. And eventually, I mean, Albert's not the same against right-handed pitching anymore. And when they bat him, they're batting him like 7th. I mean, so it is an admission that, hey, you're not who you used to be. But
I think if he reaches 700, he should not take another at-bat. Just like Roberto, 3,000 hits.
Yeah, well, that wasn't Roberto's choice.
Well, that's true,
but,
yeah.
It would be awesome if he gets to 700, especially since we believe he's done it on the up and up. We had David Sampson on yesterday in which he threw out the qualifier. Well, I'm assuming that Judge is doing this, not using steroids. And that's why this should be celebrated. I think with, the era that they played in, I think we kind of qualify it with just about everybody these days, fairly or not.
Bud Elliott coming up next. Miller and Moulton. We thank you so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, Only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Morning, bud.
Morning, Gus.
How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Just going over this East Carolina depth chart notes. And
I'm telling you, what, my son just graduated from ECU. They've only been talking about this weekend since like May.
Dude, I know. I like NC State.
Oh, I do too. I mean, they're so fired up for the party. They're so pumped with NC State coming. Like this is because they, it's only what 75 miles. So it's really close.
It's an awesome atmosphere.
I'm going to go up for. I told because he wants me to come up to a game. I'm going to go to the UCF ECU game.
Nice, that'll be fun. I think UCF might have some juice this year.
That's what a lot of people think.
I mean, they just if they got these kids in the lineup with their heads on straight, they're too athletic on the outside for the AAC, and I trust Gus when Gus doesn't try to do all this passing shit and just is cool with being he's a native wing T coach. He was a wing T guy in high school. Like when Gus Malzahn is a running quarterback, I'm in. When he tries to be a drop back passing guy, I'm out.
Right?
Like if you look at his history. I remember sitting next to Sean White on the plane, the quarterback they had for a couple of years. And he's like, yeah, I know where I'm going to commit. I was like, really? I figured, okay, like maybe Oklahoma State, or I know he had Harvard and Yale and some stuff. He's like, Auburn. Okay, because at the time they're playing a cornerback to the national title game, at QB. And yep. He's like, yeah, Gus is telling me that they're going to do all this passing stuff. And it's like, okay, man, cool. Like you can't tell a kid not to go. Like you don't want to ever influence where a kid's going. But at the same time, like it's kind of, you kind of think, man, that's not really the, I'm docking you mentally. I'm docking your decision-making.
I was just saying to David, this is a wild weekend for the SEC because Georgia's going to win. I get it. And not necessarily, but I mean, I think, it's a pretty big number, but you got Cincinnati and Arkansas. You got Utah and Florida. I mean, you got some games here where some other conferences could get a little juice.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it really, is it crazy to think Cincinnati could win? I mean, maybe, but I think they got a shot.
I don't think it's crazy.
I do know that that Arkansas looks big, just physically big. So that concerns me a little bit. I think they have that roster where they want in terms of size. I guess I do have some concerns about them. David, where are you at this weekend?
San Diego State.
Okay. Extremely veteran front seven going up against, I think Arizona's offensive line is still sketchy.
Well, seriously, San Diego State's like, what, a 3-point favorite in the game?
Yeah.
No, got it. If they're 3 points, yeah, I bet them already. And I think it moved against me. That's one of the very few that's moved against me, but I did. No, yeah, they're still 6. Okay. Are we live in the? Are we live on
Yes.
Twitch? Okay,
Yes.
cool. Yeah. I'll hold.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Yeah, I forgot about that for a second. No, I'm interested to see that there. Let's see. He's starting.
I'm loving the state of North Carolina this week. I love the fact that NC State's agreed to go to ECU, and North Carolina's doing App State, right?
Yeah, I mean that's
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fantastic. It's
Awesome.
good for college football.
Yep. And God knows nobody's making decisions there anymore. That's good for college football.
Everybody just does their own thing.
It's good for their own bank account. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all anybody cares.
This is so exciting. I can go to the scores tab and just pull up games to talk about. God dang, this is just
30 seconds.
Look at that. Never knew St. Francis, PA, and Akron could get me so excited.
People think you're difficult. You're so easy. My goodness.
All right, 10 seconds.
Look at all those things that Bud Elliott's associated with. My goodness.
I stay busy.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, thrilled to begin the first of what will be weekly with Bud Elliott throughout the college football season. He's a busy man. CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, Cover 3 Podcast, Nolecast. Follow him on Twitter at Bud Elliott 3, Bud Elliott, and the number 3. Bud, how you been?
Guys, I've missed this. This is always really fun time. Shout out to the folks on Twitch hanging out during a commercial break too. This is a blast.
Well,
You guys
we
doing
are
all right?
a day away, bud. We are great. Fired up to have you on. Fired up to the college football season's here. So many different places we could go. But with all of the upheaval, just how fired up are you to die this week? I think for all of us, after all the TV contracts and conference realignment, that you could sit and focus on games this week.
I love it. Right. I in the off season, some of this realignment stuff and NIL and all that kind of stuff sustains us as a show a little bit because you can't just. Most people are not into like a breakdown of Toledo's depth chart in April. Okay, there is a limit to how sicko mode you can actually be. But now we get to talk. We can get nitty gritty on Cover 3, and we can say, hey, I'm all in on Illinois because of this, and this on Wyoming's depth chart scares me, and that was a fun and easy winner there for us. I like breaking down the games. I like seeing who's in, who's out, who got beat out on the depth chart, and why. Like, is it because this new guy they brought in is really good, or is the incumbent hurt? And kind of dig into that and just trying to solve for it.
All right. Before we get into specific games, and we got a lot of them that we could dive into, if I could go big picture with you for about 90 seconds, who are your two teams, overrated, underrated, based on everything that you've seen? Because you do break it down deeper than most. Who are two teams that you think the country is sleeping on, and two teams that you think the country has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on?
All right, so just based on the AP poll, okay, I am nowhere near Notre Dame being the 5th ranked team in the nation. Now, I'm not saying that they're a bad team. I just think in my personal power ratings, the difference between number 4 and like number 30 is less than a touchdown. I really think there's a lot of sort of just jumbling going on this year. I have some concerns about their offense. I don't know if they have enough difference makers at receiver. They're breaking in a new quarterback. They have a defensive coach who's a head coach for a first time. I'm not really ready to pencil them in as a surefire, top 5, top 7 type team. It wouldn't shock me if they go 8-4, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing this year, given that they play a tough schedule. There's some real floor there. There's some teams on their schedule they're going to beat. And they have a really, really good offensive line. So they're not going to just be a disaster in games. Defensively, they should still be salty. But I don't know if they're going to consistently score enough points to be elite.
So there's one.
All right. I think Michigan is probably too low at 8. Michigan feels really good about what they have up front on the defensive line. I think that offense is going to be probably the second best offense in the Big Ten. And I think they have enough in the secondary to run off a 10-win season. They also have a schedule that's really, really friendly. There's some moving parts there they got to break in. They should be undefeated in their first 5 games, and a pretty good chance of only having one loss by Halloween.
Yeah,
find another one.
That Iowa game is really the toughest game in their schedule because both Michigan State and Penn State go to Ann Arbor. So Michigan's always played great non-conference schedules. They don't this year. It's really easy. So you're absolutely right. When I first looked at Michigan losing both coordinators, the 2-quarterback system, I was concerned. But then I looked at their schedule and said, there's a decent chance they could be undefeated playing the Buckeyes.
100%. Okay, part of this is obviously injury related, but I don't know why Wake Forest is ranked in the AP poll with Sam Hartman likely to miss at least several games, if not more, with the medical procedure that he had after that scare in camp. Wake also last year was extremely fortunate when it comes to turnovers. I am a believer that turnovers regress somewhat to the mean year to year. You're unlikely to be just as lucky year to year as you were with turnovers. So that would be my second overrated team. And another underrated team here, let's take a look. I mean, obviously, I'm not really sure USC is a top 15 team either, given their defense. That's sort of a show me thing. Who are some other receiving votes? All right, here's one for you. I think UCLA is pretty good. All right, they got a lot of returning starters in that team. I think they did a very nice job in the transfer portal. They seem to have some confidence in DTR. He played well last year. The quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, played well last year down the stretch. They only received 2 votes in the AP poll, in the other receiving votes. I mean, you got a lot of teams in front of them that I think they're better than. So I think UCLA is one that has a pretty good chance to finish the year ranked. And if you just took the other receiving votes and treated that as like rankings 26 to, whatever, they're like 36th or 37th right now. I think they're a top 25 team.
Let's get into some of the games, and with that, some of the teams. Pitt's a touchdown plus favorite against West Virginia. Are you sold on Pitt this year? They obviously lost their quarterback. Their best receiver transfers to USC, yet they're a top 20 team that, according to some, could be playing for the ACC title again this year.
So I am selling Pitt in terms of can they make the playoff or can they be a top 8, top 5-ish type team because of Narduzzi's comments about how they're going to be tougher and run the football. And we know passing is more efficient than running. It's that way in the NFL. It's definitely that way in college. If you want to be a top team, you have to be able to throw the football well. However, I am buying Pitt as a contender for the ACC. I am buying Pitt as a team that can be a very good football team because entire offensive line is back. Entire defensive line is back, or everybody who played 250-plus snaps. Entire secondary, everybody who played 200 snaps is back. They get Servassier Dennis back at linebacker. I think Pat Narduzzi knows what to do with that recipe. I mean, you know him well.
Absolutely.
If you get a salty defense and an offensive line that's going to push people around, we've seen this movie before. It usually goes pretty well. Now, maybe when they play the really elite teams, they can't score enough. But I'm not sure how much West Virginia is going to score here, guys.
All right, fair enough. Why is Utah only a 3-point favorite? If Florida is thin, first game, new coach, new system, the whole deal, coming off a bad year, and Utah is a consensus top 10, some believe top 5. Is this line off Utah -3?
I think it could be off. I'm not really rushing to bet this, but I understand the sentiment there. Right? I do think that Utah is a really good offense, especially after they changed quarterbacks to Cam Rising. If you take out the games that Bentley played last year for them and just go with the Cam Rising games, I had him as a top 5 offense. The Swamp is a tough place to play. It's one of the few spots I think you go and you give them an extra point for home field advantage, just something that I do at least in my own personal numbers. Anthony Richardson has the potential to be very, very good. And when I think about depth with Florida, I think, David, you bring up an interesting point. They could be in trouble if Utah really pushes tempo and exposes some of that defensive line depth. But my depth concern with Florida, for the most part, absent playing a tempo team, which Tennessee will be one, Utah could be one, is really the season long. What happens if the attrition monster gets them and they have to dip into some of those twos who I'm not really sure are Florida Gator quality when Florida is where they want to be.
Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, Cover 3 podcast, and Nolecast. Follow him on Twitter at Bud Elliott.
And I'm with you on that 100%, Bud, because Utah's so strong and so physical that to me, over the course of this could really affect the Kentucky and Tennessee games if they get beat up too much is where I worry. Florida State plays LSU. How much is the game that Florida State had against Duquesne going to help them against LSU?
I think it could help them somewhat just because they do have so many transfers who are starting, right? 4 out of 5 skill position players are transfers. And that was with almost all their players coming back from last year. So all the incumbents got beat out by the transfers they brought in. I think 3 offensive linemen will be transfers, right? You have a couple transfers on defense who they're working in to the rotation, including, by the way, UCF fans will hate this, but Tatum Bethune, the linebacker they took from UCF, that kid's stud. They're very excited about him. I think that the game could help them some. LSU is a total unknown as far as how good they'll be. There are units on that LSU team that we think are really good. Defensive line and receiver being the big ones. Corner and quarterback, though, I'm not really sold on LSU there.
So you think the Noles got a shot?
I do, yeah. Look, LSU, I think, might have some offensive line problems as well. I'm not really sure either side is going to block each other all that much. I'll give you a sneak preview of something I'm going to give out on Cover 3 this week. But first half under is a look for me there. I think both teams will probably not blitz a whole lot coming out. Probably conservative play. Anything over 24 there for a first half under, I think, is definitely worth a shot. At some point, they're going to have to open it up. Somebody will get behind, and they're going to have to start trying to hit some explosive plays and throwing. But I think they have a shot. Just if you're going to play this LSU team, this is probably when you want to play them before they fully gel as a unit, given they have so many transfers and it's a new coaching staff.
Looking at some of the big games, Georgia and Oregon, and 17 points. Oregon, their head coach, the former D coordinator at Georgia, just when you look at this matchup, is Oregon that much behind the Dogs?
I'm not convinced that they are. This number implies that Georgia is fully operational, I think, on both sides of the ball. And by talent score, yes, the number is probably correct. But I think individual matchup wise, I think Georgia can block, I think Oregon can block Georgia. And I think that, first of all, I think Georgia might have the best offensive line in the country. But I do think Oregon up front is pretty salty in their front seven. My concerns with Oregon are actually, and this sounds weird because typically we think Oregon, right? Small, fast guys, lines don't hold up. I think it's bizarro world Oregon this year. I'm not sold on Oregon's receivers, and I'm not sold on Oregon's defensive backs. How good is Georgia throwing the ball early on? And can Oregon win one-on-one matchups against Georgia's corners if they have to? Those are sort of my concerns. Because at some point, if they're able to stonewall Georgia's rush and Georgia has to blitz, can Oregon make them pay for that? I'm not totally sold.
If there's an upset in North Carolina this weekend, is it East Carolina at home, 11.5-point dog against NC State, or is it App State at home against North Carolina?
I mean, this is the cop-out because it's a 10-point game versus a 1-point game, but I think it's probably App State. I love what I saw from Drake May at UNC at quarterback, but the defense is still a work in progress. I'm not sold that East Carolina can block North Carolina State. I think NC State up front is pretty salty.
Is there a number, like Michigan State and Western Michigan, Oklahoma State and Central Michigan? I saw that, I follow Michigan State, obviously, but I saw Western Michigan got 3 coaches' votes to win the MAC. That's like 22. Central Michigan brings back every starter, and they're playing an Oklahoma State team after winning a night's bowl game last year. I look at these MAC teams, and I know the MAC's not much of a conference, but 3+ touchdowns. Any interest in either the Thursday or Friday night dog?
I actually kind of like both favorites there. Now the numbers have moved somewhat. I like them a little better when they were slightly under 3 touchdown dogs, but I think both favorites there could be live. A little bit less eager to play Michigan State because Michigan State has to go on the road to Washington, I believe, next week.
Yeah.
So are they going to keep the pedal down? I think Western Michigan could score. Central Michigan, by the way, remember they had that crazy, was it the 5th down game in Oklahoma City? Like that's something maybe Gundy's got some revenge on his mind.
Since he got something for Arkansas?
Maybe. I wish one of the kids just took the lead in that quarterback job and ran with it for Cincy. A little bit concerned with Arkansas's defense. I'm not totally sold on the secondary, and they do this weird drop 8 stuff where it relies on having a really good nose guard, and they've had 2 back-to-back high quality NFL nose guards in the last 3 years there. I don't know if they had that guy this year. And if they don't, they have to play more 4 down. I think since he's got a shot, But losing those corners for Cincy, man, that bothers me. I'm not jumping in to bet that one.
You already called them overrated, so I'm guessing you like the Buckeyes minus 17.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Hold on.
That was some in-depth analysis right there, bud.
Well,
Sorry.
Son just jumped in the room there. So, hey, that we all have those. That's the home. The home studio may look good. The doors don't always lock.
I was just having some fun with, but
I can hear him come up the stairs now. This is hilarious. He may join us on air.
Love it.
It's awesome. How old is he?
He's 3.
Hell, we
Come
can
in. Yeah.
we can make this a weekly feature, bud.
Get his
Yeah.
pick of the week.
Yeah.
What's up, man? Come here. All right. So yeah, I do like Ohio State. Sorry about that, guys. Again, I'm not really sure how much Notre Dame can score. If Ohio State gets to 42, Notre Dame are they scoring 28? I don't know. I'm not totally convinced. Come here.
Very quickly, is Baylor a playoff contender?
I think possibly. He's got some chocolate on his mouth right now. So
Nice look.
Oh man, that's
look at that.
That's
Bet,
great.
little bedhead.
Oh,
Right there is why you need Twitch. A
Yeah.
lot of good
Oh,
bedhead
yeah.
and some
Get some
chocolate on the
chocolate.
face.
I don't really think. Hold on. I don't think Baylor's really a playoff contender. All right, go to see mommy. All right. All right. So I don't think Baylor's really a playoff contender. I think they're a potential Big 12 contender if the Big 12 is somewhat down. I do think they lost a whole lot of important guys at the skill positions, but I trust Dave Aranda. I think they're very solid along the lines of scrimmage. And importantly, I know some schools that pursued Jerry Bohannon in the transfer portal, and that means they watched Baylor's film, right? And they saw who else Baylor had. They like Blake Shapen a lot. Like the coaches I talked to who were after Gary Bohannon in the transfer portal, they're like, oh, hey, this Shapen kid, I can see why Bohannon got beat out. Like the Shapen kid is the good. So it's hard for me to bet against Dave Aranda when he's got a quarterback some people think is NFL bound and really solid along both lines of scrimmage.
Bud, as always, appreciate your time and your insight, and we'll have the 3-year-old make his pick of the week beginning next week. Bud, be good.
No doubt. See you guys. Sorry.
Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, Cover 3 Podcast, Nolecast, and he will join us every Wednesday at 7:35 on Miller and Moulton.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their
It's week 1 for all of us, I guess, right?
ingredient. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Seth got the link. I still have no Seth.
Mm-hmm. He says he'll be right there. Because he had to restart everything.
Gotcha. Oh,
Yeah. Bud goes, maybe we'll have Liam on every week. I said, totally. He'll be our Corso.
do you have an email address to?
Yeah.
Cool.
Should we do it on Twitch or say it on the air?
Say it on the air.
Okay. Well, Klecko, we talked about that. I think someone claims him and picks up his salary, which is $1.3 million for this year. But if you claim him, he's going to want to. You've got control over him. You can play him wherever you want. If he clears waivers, he's only going to sign somewhere where he can play tackle. But you got to figure somebody else out there liked him in last year's draft. And one of those GMs will take a flyer on him. I mean, if I was the Bears, I'd pick him up. I mean, I'd take flyers on all these offensive linemen. Hey, Seth.
Welcome. Am I late or no? This is the break.
No,
so we're good.
Yeah, it's 8:00.
Oh, I got so nervous.
I could tell.
Right.
Yeah, can you?
When we
I'm gonna risk it. I'm going no headphones.
Ooh.
My headphones are in my bag because I recorded a podcast outside and I took the headphones away and I don't feel like getting them right now.
Seth, would you rather be a kicker or a punter or a long snapper?
It's our poll question.
And Felipe hasn't talked into the microphone in a while, so he's felt neglected. He just decided to jump in.
I like kickers.
Okay.
Punters, they're an odd bunch.
Okay. Would you rather be a kicker or a closer?
Baseball?
Mm-hmm.
Kicker, because baseball's boring.
That's you're hating.
Look.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it's the top of our 8:00 hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We just had Bud Elliott on. We'll have him on every week at roughly 7:35 on Wednesday to talk all things college football. Last year, Bud Elliott gave out a bunch of picks every week on, via email. And he's not going to give out nearly as many picks this week, but he is going to do it, and he's going to do it for free. His website, Bud Elliott CFB. Bud Elliott, that's with 2 L's and 2 T's. Bud Elliott CFB @gmail.com for those of you that are interested. Joining us a little earlier than normal because he's busy, Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and Tech Stream. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Did I see you were at the U.S. Open last night?
I was, yes. I cover that most years. I hadn't gone since COVID. 2020, they didn't allow anybody there.
Right.
And last year, there was like this crazy outbreak around this time last year in the New York area. And so I stayed away. So I hadn't been in a bunch of years. What an electric place. It's one of my favorite events. And I think this is my 6th or 7th that I've covered. One of the broadcasters for the World Feed, this guy Russ Thaler. I know we're kind of going inverse, but he's an old friend, and we sat on the pavilion and did Sports with Friends, and it was really, really cool. Just a great thing. And I brought my kid, my 14-year-old, because she's old enough that she can be left alone, so I could do some work. So it was cool.
Curious, what was her take of the Open?
Oh, she loves it. She's in. Her can I do a little bragging?
Why not?
Her, like, one of her best buds from high school, she's a freshman in high school, is a ball girl at the Open.
Always wanted that job. I mean, this is not Kramer and Seinfeld. I always thought that, and mine was more watching Wimbledon, but seeing those kids, like, how do you get the best damn seat in the house and you're a teenager at these events? I just think that would be so cool.
Yeah, so we got there for the night session, and she was wrapping up the day session, and we got there on the grounds as she's wrapping up. So we saw her like last half hour, the match that she was doing, her last half hour, and it was incredible. I barely know the kid, and I was thrilled. It was awesome. And we were taking pictures of the ball girl at the match. I couldn't even tell you who were playing. It was 2 unranked players. I couldn't even mention who they were. And the supervisor saw and made a comment like, "Oh, she has fans today." And I was like, right on, we're supporting, so it was very cool.
You going to go for Serena?
Well, I know when I can go. I'm booking it around my schedule. So, unless Serena can go
on a run.
Yeah, well, yeah, if she can go on a run, I'll go. We're going Monday. I'm going to take my family on Monday. That's just like a tickets thing. And then I'm going to go later in the week, quarterfinals, semifinals, something like that. I don't know. Now my kid's also asking if she can go back. So we'll see how this goes.
Labor Day Monday at the U.S. Open, but a few historic matches on Labor Day Monday. Probably the most noteworthy was that Connors Krickstein 5-setter back in 91.
Well, one of the neat things about tennis right now, and I'm fascinated by it. It's the only sport that you could really say it's so much better now than it was 15, 20 years ago. Baseball, you could never argue that. Football, you could argue, the Dan Marino, John Elway era is a better era for football. And, there was more hitting and things like that. You could make that argument. You could make the argument the NBA was better in the 90s than it is now. Like, you can make the argument that the old man argument of the old days were better for the sports. Tennis, you can't really say that. And it's no disrespect to John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors, Boris Becker. The people that are playing today are far superior. And you're seeing the greatest era. You're not only seeing Serena, you're seeing this triumvirate of Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Djokovic when he shows up. And just the idea of that is pretty remarkable. And that's what the crux of the beginning of our podcast is about.
Actually, Seth, I think it would be if Djokovic was actually at the tournament. That's
what I'm saying.
But he's not there because he's not invited to the tournament because he's not vaccinated. And it's, right. I mean, it's a separate thing, but it's an absolute joke to me that he's not at this tournament when we can let Kyrie Irving play. And we have all these different, I understand he comes from another country. I get all the reasons behind it. I think that we just passed the greatest era of tennis because these players are, Rafi's old and Federer might be done. but it is great to see. I thought it was great to see the crowds out supporting Serena because we don't know. Whenever the last one is, whenever she gets beat, it's done.
But I saw Osaka last night, and my heart goes out to her. I saw Emma Raducanu, the winner last night. She lost in the first round. It's a fascinating sport right now.
And yet it's a sport that in this country is maybe about to be extinguished. I mean, think about it. This is it for Serena, which we all believe.
Live tennis too?
Okay. but
they'd have no one to get, Seth.
Good night, everybody.
Federer maybe will play one more Wimbledon. He's trying to get his knee healthy enough to play one Wimbledon. That's it. All right. And you never know with Nadal because his body is constantly breaking down. And Djokovic might now be past his peak. I mean, Seth, it is a sport that in this country, you haven't had an American win a Grand Slam since Roddick in the U.S. Open 19 years ago.
Former Fox Sports Radio host Andy Roddick.
Plug. All right.
What, did he go to Syracuse?
No, but I used to go on with him all the time.
So, it is a sport that in this country, Seth, I'm overstating it, but it is almost nearing extinction. It's that invisible in this country.
Maybe in your part of the country. I don't see it. I see the buzz as strong as ever. The ticket demand.
Come on, you got Serena. Come on, if it wasn't Serena,
wasn't just Serena. No, I think Daniil Medvedev is a star in the making. I think Kyrgios is like a badass in the making. I think the whole thing is compelling. I think it's a transition, but isn't it amazing that we may have seen the greatest era? The Djokovic, Federer, Nadal. You've seen this greatest era. Well, we've lived in a golden time. We saw Michael Jordan. We saw Tiger Woods in his prime. We saw Serena in her prime. Like, I saw Wayne Gretzky in his prime. Why are we so lucky?
Hey, you saw Prince and Van Halen in their prime too, Seth.
That's
so
true.
I mean, you can even go that way.
That's true too. They played. Oh, that was funny. We're doing the podcast, and they're playing music in the pavilion, and you can faintly hear it in the background. And all I'm thinking now is Spotify is going to come after me.
Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and Tech Stream are the three great podcasts. You can follow them on Twitter at Seth_Everett.
I have to thank you, Seth, for the Tech Stream podcast and your hate of MLB.TV for, blacking out games, because we had an appearance and Chase Elliott, the NASCAR driver. I'm talking, he's at this Napa Auto Parts last week, and we've got this big event, and I'm talking to him, and I know he's a big Braves fan. I know he's a big Georgia Bulldog fan. So I just kind of threw him a question about him winning a championship or the Braves or the Dogs. And he goes into 5 minutes of having MLB TV. And when he's at home, he can't watch because he lives in Dawsonville, Georgia, which is right outside of Atlanta. Yep. He's like, when I'm home, I can't watch the games. I don't know. What do they expect me to go to every home game? And here's the NASCAR champ.
Telling him about VPNs.
And I'm like, you need a VPN or you need to be away from the house. I don't know how to tell you this, but
there's ways to do it. There's an end around, but yeah.
So Seth, you were thought of while we were at a live remote with Chase Elliott,
nice.
The NASCAR champion. Just so you know that
you guys, you know what that is? That's Napa know-how.
Well played.
Wow.
Seth. Well played. Nice job. Nice job helping out one of our sponsors. We really appreciate
it. Singles, but
so nothing wrong with that. Old school baseball.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with putting the ball in play. I mean,
exactly.
I know you probably didn't watch Mets and Dodgers, but last night in the first inning, because of errors, the ball wasn't playing. You know what happened? Runs were scored.
But you want to know something really funny about that? My car saw that game.
Gotcha. Nothing wrong with 3 singles and a sack fly. That's 2 runs right there. Nothing wrong with that. All right, very
kid. As we're walking out, we're walking by the 7 train, and there's hordes of Met fans.
Sure,
in Mets, shirts and stuff. And she says, "Why are there so many Mets fans in the world?" And I said, "Why, indeed."
Stop it. All right, very quickly, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice text stream. Anything interesting this week? Anything at all?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sports with Friends is Russ Thaler from the U.S. Open. It's about 25 minutes on tennis, and then we talk about some other sports. And he and I used to do NBC Sports Network together. back in the day. So we had some good stories, including some Daryl stories. Hall of Justice is actually taking a week off this week because of logistics and Labor Day and stuff like that. It's not going to come out with a new episode, but there will be one next week. And Tech Stream is about Amazon Pharmacy and how Amazon's shutting it down. If you think Amazon is not trying to get into pharmacies, they're not. They are. They're going to revamp their whole thing and try to take over that line of business. And it's just funny how Amazon goes about their business. And we all need help with prescription drugs and access to them and costs of them. And Amazon is trying to help. And, whether you're on board or not, it's going to be fascinating.
All right. Mark Cuban, by the way, getting in the prescription drug business, offering drugs at much lower prices. All right. So you may want to do that with Sports with Friends one day, Seth. Just
get Mark Cuban on?
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good get.
Talking, believe it or not, he'd probably do it about prescription drugs, and eventually you get around to some sports.
I'm supposed to go up to Syracuse on Thursday, and I'm supposed to sit down with Jim Boeheim on Friday.
Huh. Well, we could throw in some snide comments here, but we won't.
Yeah,
Seth?
We're going to talk ACC broadcast rights. See what Jim Boeheim thinks about that.
And non-conference games against Colgate.
Yeah.
Ask him what he thinks about chicken tenders at Zaxby's.
Can you bring back Marathon Oil?
Seth Everett, 3 terrific podcasts. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Seth, all the best.
See you guys.
Seth Everett, who normally joins us a little later on Wednesdays, had to move up his appearance. He's got a thing, one of his kids at school. He's got to be there. He's a doting dad. Another reason I like him. Seth Everett here on Miller and Moulton. Graham Hall will join us in about 25 minutes time. We'll talk a little Gators, that big home opener, a lot of pressure. They don't lose these suckers. 89, baby. 89 the last time they lost a home opener. Underdogs against mighty Utah.
Like the fact that Bud gives Florida he's done with 3 points this, 3 points that, but the Swamp's worth an extra point to him. Still like Utah in the game, but not enough to bet it. Trying to scare me off. It's not going to happen.
Miller and Moulton. Trying not to scare you off here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't know why he started following me on Twitter this morning.
Oh, no, because that guy's I
This guy's
thought.
got 12,000 followers. That's the only reason. Sports with Coleman is who it is. Jerry Coleman.
Oh no, that's.
Don't know who that is. That's all.
No, I have no idea because the Jerry Coleman that I was talking about died 8 years ago.
Okay, well, that's probably, I mean, if he's following me on Twitter, that would be impressive.
Right.
I got a lot that I'd like to ask him. I go to church. Should I start paying attention? The Big 12 and its TV partners, Fox and ESPN, have agreed to enter into contract discussions about the league's next television deal. Contracts will begin soon and come a year and a half before the contract's exclusive negotiation window.
Okay.
Just for what it's worth.
Oh, we can talk about it.
As Pete Thamel says, this could potentially mitigate one of the Pac-12's advantages in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Klecko, I got to be honest with you. I hate Heisman talk. Hate it. Hate it. Think it's lazy. Think it's stupid. You can look back over the last 10, 15 years and realize the candidates that were being talked about in September and October are not the quarterbacks that end up or the players that end up there at the end in November and December.
I think this year they both will be, though.
It's crap. Absolute crap. 4 years ago, Tua went into the SEC championship game as a slam dunk. The Heisman was over. Played badly, got hurt. Hurts had to bail him and Alabama out. Kyler Murray wins in a landslide.
Oh, wow. I'll take that bet with you, Kimberly. All day.
What'd she say?
That the Chiefs will win more games than the Bills.
Well, RCB, we tried to point that out. We just had Bud Elliott on, and he's like,
30 seconds.
It's Richardson.
And I think it's the Heat.
Speaking of which, it did not feel stupid hot this morning. Like, it was actually like, I walked out with the dog at 5 o'clock. I'm like, didn't slap me with humidity. It was kind of nice.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Getting over the hump together on this Wednesday edition of Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Poll question. Yesterday was cut down day, and we know teams will make a bunch of moves between now and when their NFL season gets underway. But for the most part, teams keeping 3 special teamers: a punter, a kicker, and a snapper. So, in honor of cut down day, we ask, hey, you had to make a team as a special teamer. Which one would you want to be?
Boy, Pat McAfee is really earning his stripes for this show because punter right now is winning.
Punter's winning?
Punter is winning.
Wow. How about that?
42% of the vote said they'd want to be a punter.
Huh.
Long snapper and kicker are tied.
I like it.
I think that punter is probably the hardest.
Kicker's the hardest, I think.
Well, it's placed for you. Punter, you got to lob it up a little bit and,
Punter, you have more of a chance of getting hurt.
For sure.
You're going to get blocked. You're going to get run into. You're going to get hit at some point. I mean, the kicker's got to, they don't run back kicks anymore.
And punter, you're the last man back. So if, Tyreek Hill.
Same with kicker, though.
That's true.
You're supposed to be. Some kickers actually throw their nose into it and aren't last man back.
But there's probably more punt returns now in a game than there is kick returns.
Right. Kick returns all but disappeared. I mean, till basically December and January when the ball stops traveling as far. But yeah, first 3 months of the year, they just boot that sucker right on through unless they're trying to make it high and short so they could tackle them in the field of play pretty deep.
Was it the punter that AB remember when AB tried to hurdle someone on a punt return and stepped on his face? I think he stepped on a punter's face one time.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Punt returns are exciting.
Kick returns are exciting. They just don't happen.
A punt return for a touchdown is kind of like a triple in baseball. All right. Actually brings you out of your chair. It's an exciting play.
Oh, I mean, the kick, any return like that, because you can see the kick return coming. You see that hole when you're in the stands or even on TV. You see that little gap.
You've got Westhoff's number. As Hops in our Twitch chat room says here, would love to hear Westhoff's answer to the poll question. You should ask him.
I'll text him after the show. We'll report back tomorrow.
Right. Mike.
Because if I text him right now, he's going to call me.
Right. Forgetting that you're doing a show.
Exactly.
Right.
Unless he's out shark fishing already this morning.
So that's our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, floridasportsnetwork.com, and vote accordingly.
I mentioned Pat McAfee. He got bounced off of Sirius. Was that, or not bounced, but I guess they agreed amicably to.
Well, first off, Mad Dog Radio never wanted him to. I mean, the guy who runs Mad Dog Radio, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, not really a big fan.
Right.
Okay, so that was kind of forced on Mad Dog Radio.
But it was popular.
It was very popular. But I'm just saying, the people at the Mad Dog Radio level, all right, never really wanted him. It was the people above who really wanted him and put him on the show. And 2 years, very popular. Obviously, it's where Aaron Rodgers went every week for the last 2 years to give us his weekly updates about life in the pursuit of happiness. Very popular. And for whatever reason, it might have been financial, who knows, but they agreed to part ways. Mad Dog Radio said it was amicable. All right. McAfee released a statement in which basically he said, it's better to go where you're wanted than where you're tolerated. That doesn't sound, it could still be amicable. It's just not, he knew he wasn't desired. Big mistake.
Really big mistake.
Big mistake. If you have an audience, if it's not your cup of tea, who cares? All right. And you're in the business of producing an audience and someone produces you an audience.
Ego got involved here.
Maybe.
Russo's been
maybe
as big as there is in this business for 3 decades.
Maybe. I mean,
there's not a doubt in my mind that ego got involved.
I mean, I have no idea if money also got involved. I mean, when they got McAfee 2 years ago, I think it was either right before or right after he struck the huge FanDuel deal in which he's making like $25 million a year. And so, now when you're Pat McAfee, I mean, you just signed a contract with Peyton and Omaha Productions, and you're doing a bunch of stuff with college football. You're doing wrestling on Fridays. I mean, he's a BFD. All right. And so in 2 years' time, I'm guessing it was a short-term deal. And so now that it's up, he's probably like, I'm thinking about getting paid by you guys. And they're like, I don't know. We don't usually throw that kind of money around, on our sports channels, if you know what I mean. I mean, we'll give it to Howard,
right?
But we don't really give it to anybody else. And I'm sure Pat
just found that interesting because it is so popular.
Yeah,
and
also because he curses, which I know Mad Dog hated. Because he's a traditional broadcaster, and even though it is satellite radio, and you could say something off color, and you can use foul language, I mean, he does noon to 3. And I have to admit, I nearly crashed the car. Because I know Mad Dog Russo a smidge, and I know he's a staid, traditional broadcaster. And the very first time that McAfee was on it, and he's throwing around MF, the whole deal, and it's 12:20. And I nearly literally, I'm going to the bank, and I've never scraped, and there's not a whole lot of margin for error when you go through their drive-throughs and what have you. There really isn't. If you're not paying attention, you could scrape the side of your car. I nearly drove it straight into brick.
All right. All of that is a nice story, but let me get to the crux of this. You didn't go into the bank?
No, I don't go into the bank.
You just do the drive-through?
I just do the drive-through.
I expected you for sure to be the guy that goes in the bank, and you're kind of like Norm there because no one goes into the bank anymore. They use ATMs, and you still use the bank. I could see you go, Moulton, how you doing? Kate, Susie, Jim, how are you? Who do I go see today? Who wants me at their window today?
I will say the few times I have gone to the bank, it's hi, Mr. Moulton. I mean, they do know who I am, not because of the radio show, but because I frequent the bank. So, but anyway, I nearly drove it right into separating lane 2 and lane 3. I nearly drove it right into the brick. I'm like, oh my goodness, he is cursing at 12:20 on Mad Dog Radio. Mad Dog is probably losing his mind.
Well, when you told me that a couple of years ago, I have always kind of put that in the back of my brain, and that never ended with what McAfee does. And I listen to the show occasionally.
But it fits him. And I was thinking, because he obviously is interested in continuing his show and having an audio platform. Well, I mean, satellite, you can say and do whatever you want. At a lot of other audio platforms, you can't. And so that was the part of it with me in which I'm like, I know you'll get picked up and all that, but this was a really good audio platform for you. There was nothing you couldn't do in which they just say, hey, you're paying for it.
He still goes right to YouTube like everybody else. The audience is that big and they come with him. But I found that to be interesting. It was in short fashion, he's become a pretty large name in this business.
No doubt.
And not just for the craziness, basically because of his relationship with Aaron Rodgers and getting to something that no one else was getting.
But also think of his appeal. And he was a former teammate of Peyton Manning, but still, Peyton's not dumb. Omaha Productions is not dumb. And yet they, you think of McAfee and, you think Omaha Productions is kind of conservative. They're trying to do something different, but they're doing it in a conservative way. Pat McAfee's not conservative. And yet they've jumped to do a deal together. Peyton called him the most interesting teammate he ever had.
Well, it certainly seems to fit post-playing career. Miller and Moulton. We'll talk some Gators coming up. Graham Hall on the other side. They play Utah. They have not lost a home opener since 1989. Will this be the year? We'll ask Graham Hall next on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com.
If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Guess what we're in store for?
They're great. It's getting jewelry from
Right.
kids.
Well, I was chasing after Patty Sisolak in 6th grade.
Yeah, 3rd grade, I can tell you I had no interest. I had a kindergarten crush and then never had another one again until probably 5th, 6th grade. Yeah. Yes, he has.
Well, 15th anniversary of the great upset.
Oh, yeah, the one I told you. Well, Pitt could beat him. Is that the year they were 2-9 that you're talking about?
28.5-point underdogs. All right. And they've got like 4 wins. West Virginia ranked in the top 5. And after Oklahoma beat Missouri in the Big 12 title game in the afternoon, all West Virginia had to do was beat Pitt, and they would have played Ohio State for the national championship. Yep, 13-9. We left Atlanta after the SEC championship game. LSU had beat Tennessee on a late pick 6. And it's, I don't know, I think it was 9-7 West Virginia, something like that. And we're on the plane, but we're on Delta, so we've got TV. When I say we, it was Gary Danielson and I. And I mean, he's in first class, but I mean, we're both watching this game and freaking out and then thinking, wait a minute. If Pitt wins, they're going to have to pick LSU. Because we were going through the teams that lost. It basically would have come down to 2 lost Georgia, who didn't make the SEC title game. Oklahoma with 2 losses. USC lost to Stanford that year as a 6-touchdown favorite. And LSU. Right. Wanstead's on crutches. Right. On the sidelines of that game, they're 4-7. Yep. Steve Slayton. That was the team that Rich Rod, he had turned down the Alabama job the year before so he could come back and coach that 2007 West Virginia team, and it looked like it was going to be the right decision because he was going to play for the national championship. Yeah, but the officiating was not the reason they lost. Come on. They choked. They couldn't handle the pressure that day. They choked.
Wow. This Sean Patrick, there's a long texting. Apparently there's a Netflix story on Donahue out. And basically, this guy calls all of Donahue stuff about the mob BS. Pretty interesting.
Who calls it BS?
This guy by the name of Sean Patrick Griffin, who's a former Philadelphia cop, wrote 2 books called Gaming the Game and Black Brothers, whatever that is. But he's a professor of criminal justice at the Citadel. But David Payne Purdom, who was the ESPN gambling guy, just says, I haven't seen the new Netflix show on Donahue yet, but no one is more dedicating to telling the story accurately than Sean Patrick Griffin. That's why I read it, because I know Purdom's pretty on the spot guy.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Graham Hall's kind enough to join us once again. He covers the Gators for 24/7 Sports. Follow Graham on Twitter, Graham Hall _, Graham Hall _. Graham, it's David and Mark once again. Congratulations on the move. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me, guys. It's always good to be here and talk actual build-up of a game. You know, we spent so long hypothesizing and theorizing what things are going to look like, and now it's kind of put up or shut up time. And it's always good to be here and talk it over with you guys.
Well, no doubt. And the Gators have not lost a home opener since 1989. They are a 3-point underdog against Utah. Why, if the Gators win this game, why do they win it?
That's a good question. I think there are a lot of people out there who are a little bit surprised right now that the line of this game so 50-50, so close even. There are some sites favoring Florida even here. You go look at even ESPN's FPI. I mean, Florida had a chance of winning this game early on from the beginning of the season. Since, those reviews came out, people were high on Florida's chances. And I understand a lot of that. You're playing at Swamp, one of the top sites, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, where so much based on the elements, from the humidity to the roaring crowd, the night game, you name it. We've seen SEC teams come in here and kind of be crippled by it, guys. I mean, you go back to that Auburn game where kind of getting a little conspiratorial even and saying, hey, there must have been speakers pumping in crowd noise here because this is the loudest we've seen it. And, to get that from a fellow SEC program, I think it's just incredibly impressive. And the same thing happened, with LSU. They're going to need a similar type of environment to stun a team of Utah's caliber, a team that, went to the Rose Bowl last year, won double-digit games, won its conference, is coming in to face a team that's coming off a losing record. And Florida has a reasonable chance in my mind because of who they got back, the schematic changes with Billy Napier. Obviously, Anthony Richardson, if he can come out and play to the level that I think many people are hoping that he plays at, which is being able to turn in those glimpses that you saw last year, the dynamic plays, and turn that into a consistent thing, a consistent possibility for Florida's offense. That all happens and everything comes together. I absolutely think Florida has a really good chance of beating Utah in the opener. And, there's some people who may think that sounds crazy in a sense, but I really do think that the changes that we've seen here, the starting units, I mean, guys, this is the best offensive line that I have seen in Gainesville since I've been covering the program. You factor in all of it, and there's a reasonable path for Florida taking advantage of what's at their disposal and getting a win here on Saturday.
All right, Graham, you mentioned the schematic changes, and we're talking with Graham Hall, who covers the Gators for 24/7 Sports. Follow Graham on Twitter at @GrahamHall_. I mean, what, as best you can tell, the access that you've had, whether it's spring game, practice, what will the schematic changes be? What will this offense look like? Is this going to be more of a power running? Is this going to be the Tebow type offense of the late 2000s? What is it that you expect?
I think a really run-heavy offense is something many people should be expecting on Saturday. You go back and look not just at your tenure at Louisiana, but go back and look at Clemson, Alabama, what he did at Arizona State even, and every single one of his teams where he has been on the sideline as either head coach, offensive coordinator, his teams have ran the ball at least 55% of the time, if not closer to 60%. So expect that right away. There were a lot of people last year that were kind of clamoring for Florida to do just that, to deploy this run-heavy offense. And, they had two guys alongside a quarterback in Emory Jones and a quarterback in Anthony Richardson, two guys in Damian Pierce and Malik Davis who are going to be on NFL rosters here this upcoming Sunday. And to see Florida maximize the talent that they had in the backfield was pretty tough, I think, for a lot to stomach last season, especially when you saw that the Gators quarterbacks were among the leaders in interceptions. And you see that Billy Napier, his history is going to run the football. And I think that should alleviate a lot of concerns right there for a lot of people. You get Montrell Johnson, who had success on the ground, would have been Florida's leading rusher last year if he had that production in Gainesville as a freshman. He's in the fold. You have Naquan right back, and you have a very promising freshman in Trevor Etienne. That's a name that may sound familiar to a lot of people who followed college football and NFL. The younger brother of Travis Etienne, former Clemson standout, Jacksonville Jaguars first-round pick. That's a guy who is skyrocketing up the depth chart to what I understand. He is a freshman who is going to play a big role this season, whether it's in the backfield, at kick return. He is going to be on the field as a freshman. Expect them to use multiple running backs, to use Richardson in the run game, and a lot of play action as well. When you can establish the run, and then you have a quarterback like Richardson who can scamper, escape, make guys miss in the open field, hurdle guys even, you have to use that to your advantage. And I think you're going to see a lot of times where, he runs a play action fake and then is able to throw it 50 yards downfield over the top and create a huge play for this offense in a variety of ways, whether it's with his legs or with his arm. That's what you have to do, but it starts with establishing the run, and that's what Billy Napier is going to do. And, I mentioned the offensive line. It's very talented offensive line, gets 3 starters back from last year, gets Michael Tarquin at right tackle, who started the end of the year, a 4th-year guy. But that's not even the most promising bit. It's right guard Osiris Torrance, who transferred from Louisiana, a very dominant offensive lineman. He already got preseason All-America second-team recognition before ever playing a snap in the SEC. If this offensive line can come together and gel, and the addition of 2 offensive line coaches is surely going to be big as well, that should definitely help the run game and should lead to the best offensive line that I've seen since I've been covering the team for the last 8 years. So I think that absolutely you combine all that, you have a chance for a very dominant run game here in Gainesville.
All right, listening to you talk about this offensive line, when I think of Utah, I think of a team that's going to be really physical, incredibly good at the line of scrimmage. Do you think, Graham, that Florida can win the battle at the line of scrimmage, particularly for their offensive line against Utah's defense?
I do. I think that there's a little bit of a high-risk assessment that you could say that this offense carries, despite the quality of the offensive line. They're going to ask teams to stack the box against them, to expect run more than half the time, to attempt to sack the quarterback. And I think you're looking at a wide receiving core that, despite the presence of Ricky Pearsall, I don't think that it's something that scares a lot of people right now. A lot of defensive coordinators are not really shaking in their boots looking at the Florida wideouts and their tight ends and sitting here thinking, oh, hey, there's a dynamic presence on this team like Kadarius Toney or Kyle Pitts, two guys who have been in Gainesville recently who were nothing like we've seen at the position in recent years. There's no one really like that on this Florida roster. So I think a lot of teams are going to be expecting run this season, and how well that offensive line holds up, gives Anthony Richardson time, allows the running backs to get in between the tackles and get to the second level. That, I think, is going to be a huge determinant of how good this offense is. And I could even see it being a case where they do give up more sacks than last year. They only allowed 14 sacks last year, which I think is a really good number. I could see them allowing more sacks, but still having more impressive play on the line of scrimmage here. A lot of it comes down to Richardson. This is a guy who is a first-time starter. I know that there were the glimpses last year. I used that term, glimpses, and I used the word potential, because while they were impressive, you need to see the wide body of work to really get a sense of his long-term ceiling at the position. And what I mean by that is he has to go out there, minimize the mistakes, put together drives, adjust when the defense game plans against him. That was one of the benefits last year. Is not a lot of film was out there on him, and so he could surprise some people. That's no longer the case this year now that he is the starting quarterback. Whether he can do that at a high rate, I do think remains to be seen. But fortunately, he's got a lot of running backs around him who can help him in a veteran offensive line that's going to give him the best protection right now that, like I said, we've seen in a decade here in Gainesville. So that combined, if everyone around Richardson holds up, it really is going to come down to his ability to perform. And I think that's a huge pressing question that's on everyone's mind as Florida opens the season here on Saturday.
All right, have a handful of minutes left. A quick final question about the offense for me. Richardson, I think, is going to end up with 10 to 12 carries a game, whether it's design calls or it's scrambling. That's 120 to 150 chances for him to get hurt. If he gets hurt, is the season toast? Or is there somebody behind him with a pulse?
Oh, the season absolutely would have its ceiling lowered. I don't want to necessarily say right now that when they have running backs and can do a lot of things that this offense is looking to do, that they would really be toast necessarily, but I do think the ceiling will be lowered and maybe in a lot more difficult position. Florida really felt good about their backup, Jack Miller, who they brought in from Ohio State. He ascended up the ranks in spring and took over that backup job from guys like Jalen Kitna, Carlos Del Rio Wilson, who didn't see the field in 2021 as freshmen, but were expected to kind of compete for that backup role. Then you see Emory Jones depart out of the room. After Richardson now, that quarterback room looked like Jack Miller, Jalen Kitna, Max Brown, and a pair of walk-ons in Kyle Angle and Jack Anders. Things took a turn when Jack Miller broke his thumb on his throwing hand. He actually has a right thumb avulsion fracture. Is expected to miss a couple of weeks and then begin rehab by the third week of the season. Whether he's back by the midpoint of the season is something that, I've been told they're optimistic of still. But you're talking about if Richardson goes down, you're either relying on a walk-on or a true freshman that is considered to be a project in Gainesville. And Kitna is coming off of a knee surgery in fall camp, a little bit of a scope on his knee. So when you look at the injury concerns, you look at the lack of experience, and you look at the overall lack of scholarship quarterbacks behind Richardson, absolutely, guys. If Richardson goes down, you are in a much worse position if you are Florida. You have to be cognizant of that fact, that your offense changes, the amount of play action you can do, the design quarterback runs you can do. A lot of that kind of goes out the window if Richardson does get hurt. So I do think there needs to be a concerted effort here in the beginning of the season to minimize the chances for him to get hurt. Sacks are going to happen. The pocket's going to come apart. He's going to need to go down and show that he can slide, get out of bounds, you name it. Because if he gets banged up, if he even cramps up and they have to bring in a backup quarterback, you're looking at someone who, like I said, a huge lack of experience compared to even him, who had only thrown 39 passes prior to the season opener here. So I think that you have to, like I said, you have to minimize the risk to Anthony Richardson, knowing what is at stake here.
All right. The problem is that the early part of the schedule is one of the more difficult parts. When they play Eastern Washington, Graham, on October 1st, what do you think the Gators' record is?
Oh, man. I hope not too many people are listening to this right now, because I do think there's a really good chance that they're sitting here at 1-3. I mean, this is the most difficult September of any college football team out there. I think that you can easily make that case. You play 3 teams that are ranked in the top 25 in Utah, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Now, those teams certainly have their flaws, right? Utah coming into the swamp, you can see a path to victory for Florida if all goes according to plan. Kentucky is going to be dealing with some suspensions. There's one out there that I know hasn't really been reported right now and will be out here soon, but the other one is Chris Rodriguez, that I think a lot of people know of. The star running back, the SEC's leading rusher, he's going to be out for the first 4 games. So Florida is going to face a Kentucky team at home that is missing their top running back. So, yeah, there's a possibility there. Tennessee, that's in Knoxville against a team with a really good quarterback in Hendon Hooker. They have a lot of momentum, but their defense, I think, is a huge question mark. Florida could achieve victory in all 3 of those games and theoretically open the season 4-0, guys, right? And I think the game of 1 or 2 plays a lot of the time with what Florida needs to overcome, where those other teams are, even though I see a path to victory, I think there is a very reasonable chance where they open the season at 1-3, and a lot of people are not too upset about it necessarily because they see the progress. They see where the other teams are. Losing to Kentucky is not like losing to Kentucky even 6-7 years ago, guys. It was a streak for 31 years for so long that it was embarrassing. Nowadays, you lose to Kentucky and everything they have, putting NFL wide receivers out there with Levis, it makes sense. So I'm going to go with 1-3. I could see 3-1. I could see 2-2, but 1-3 right now.
Graham, thanks for your time and your insight. Enjoy the game on Saturday. Congratulations on the move to 24/7 Sports, and we look forward to doing this again.
I'm elated. Thanks, guys. Looking forward to it. Y'all take care out there.
Graham Hall. Follow him on Twitter at Graham Hall _. That's Graham Hall _. For those in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice, have a great rest of your day. The bonus hour is next.
Bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts.
FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Have you seen this story about the French football player and the witch doctor and the whole extortion thing?
No.
His brother apparently is extorting money from him. It's crazy story.
Worth talking about?
I don't have all the names and details ingrained in my head to really, maybe by tomorrow. But it's crazy. Figured you'd be all over that, Felipe.
10 seconds. A French footballer?
With Pogba?
It's Paul Pogba?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's his brother who's extorting from him, and there's another player involved.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour on this hump day. Thanks for getting over it with us here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when, all coming up in roughly 40 minutes time. Later today, you'll start to hear more rumblings about teams bringing guys back onto the practice squad and all that. And some guys will get claimed, which means other guys will get cut because you have to do that immediately.
So, we are now in 53 personnel mode.
Right. And if the league calls you up and goes, hey, guess what? You ended up with so-and-so. Because, they do it by your draft position. So Jacksonville, basically everyone they claim they'll get because they're number one on the waiver wire. So then, if Detroit claims somebody, all they have to worry about is did Jacksonville claim? Because if they didn't, then they go to the Lions. And that's how it goes. And so, like in a case of Miami, high teens, Tampa, mid-20s, there's a better than 50-50 chance you claim somebody, you're not going to get them. And that's just how it works.
We think they should be claiming the kid from the Raiders that was cut, Leatherwood, but we don't know how many teams. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of teams claiming him.
Well, they offered him apparently to the 31 other teams, and no one was willing to trade for him. Now, granted, there's a difference, obviously, between trading for him and claiming him. You don't have to give up a draft pick of any kind. We don't know if they were literally a seventh rounder and they would have taken it, or whether or not they were trying to trade him and they attached a fourth or fifth round grade.
And also from a cap standpoint, if you're trading for him, you're absorbing all of the cap hit. Now you're just absorbing this year's salary. Vegas had to absorb the cap hit from the signing bonus.
7.9. 1 year, by the way. I will say the Gruden-Mayock first round drafts have not worked out well for the Raiders. No. Now, first off, I don't know that Mike Mayock was doing the drafting. I mean, do you think John Gruden took second fiddle to Mike Mayock when it came to selecting a player?
No, I almost think that Mayock would give him here's where I'm at.
Right.
And Gruden made the final decision.
So I don't know how much of it we put on Mayock versus how much we put on Gruden, who had final say over everything with the Raiders there for 3+ years. But the first round picks did not go well. Somebody put out a graphic, by the way, quick tangent, about the Patriots' first 3 rounds, 2018 through 2020. In fact, I don't know if I saved it, but basically that 13 guys they drafted in those 3 drafts in the first 3 rounds. They went 2 for 13.
You've been pointing this out for a while as to the greatness of the Patriots, the greatness of Bill Belichick has been done with a less than stellar draft history.
And you're being kind, but particularly lately, it's why I think you and I both, when we make our picks, I think we both don't see the Patriots as a playoff team this year. When I look at their roster, I do not think it's a terrific roster. And they continue to lose some of their best players. I mean, they lost Brady. They've lost Gronk. They've lost 2 terrific corners here in a year's time with Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson. I mean, I don't see a single player on that roster in which you go in game planning on either side of the ball and go, we got to be worried about this guy.
And I'm sorry, they lost a great offensive coordinator as well.
I would argue their most impactful player is Matthew Judon. Okay. And he's a double-digit sack guy. I mean, he's a very good player. Maybe you double team him, but if you look at the 2018 through 2020 drafts, first 3 rounds, 2 for 13. You do some quick math here. I believe that you're batting 154 if you go 2 for 13.
That usually gets you sent back down to AAA, David.
Well, it usually at least puts you on the bench, and somebody else is going to get a shot in the next series. So it's why I think the Patriots are in the position that they're in, and this transition may last a little longer than Bill and their fans would want. It's because, quite frankly, the roster's not as good as it should have been.
And the Dolphins open at home with the Patriots. David, would you be willing, because I know you're about to back up the truck on the Dolphins for week 1, would you be willing in a suicide pool to go Dolphins week 1?
Yes, I would be. I think it would be shocking if they lost. Not surprising. I think it would be shocking. Now, if Josh McDaniels was still there, they're picking up that offense from last year and continue to roll with it. But clearly they're not.
There's no real skill guys that there's no skill guys that threaten you in New England right now.
No. And I know Byron Jones isn't there and the Dolphins secondary is a little banged up, but come on, it's still better than what the Patriots are offering. I mean, think about it. Devontae Parker's expected to be a big weapon for the Patriots. The Dolphins were like, look, get rid of him. Please. Just get rid of him. I mean, the Dolphins they got rid of Parker and got rid of 2 wide receivers yesterday who played key roles on their team last year. That's just at one position. The Dolphins roster is better. When's the last time, by the way, we could say that? I mean, I'm confidently
you and I have been doing a show
that.
for a long time. Have we been able to say that since we've been doing a show?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I mean, you'd have to go back, certainly not since we've been doing the show, and that goes all the way back to the summer of 2006. But, I mean, you and I have both been in town since the late 90s. I mean, the very end of the 90s there in 2000, you could argue the Dolphins were better. They were both kind of wild card teams. They were making the playoffs. The Dolphins were making it more consistently. Patriots at the quick retool year 1 under Belichick. But even when the 2001 season began, the Dolphins were seen as a better team. We all know how it ended. 2002, they each had the same regular season record. They each went 9-7, lost out in a tiebreaker to the Jets. They went and won the division at 9-7, and the other Dolphins and Patriots stayed home. So you got to go 20 years. I mean, just without batting an eye, you got to go 20 years.
But even that being said, for Miami this year, it's hard pressed for Miami, unless they're going to split with Buffalo, to be able to lose either game to the Patriots and either game to the Jets if they're going to be a playoff team. 4-2 is about the bare minimum inside the division if you think you're going to play in the postseason.
Well, they swept the Patriots last year, and they swept the Jets last year, and still missed the playoffs.
Gotcha. But we think they're a better team than they were a year ago. If you just had that same recipe this year, I think the Miami Dolphins can be a playoff team.
So it's one way of looking at the rosters anyway, and what to expect this year. And some of the maneuvering, like Yinzer in our Twitch chat room, in which he's saying Leatherwood should have been a second-round pick and a guard. And we agree. That was a surprising first-round pick a year ago. And I agree with you. I don't think he's a tackle. Teams screw up. We just documented it. We all know everybody screws up. Even if you're good at this, you screw up in the draft.
And going back to the Saints and Eagles making the trade yesterday, Eagles getting a starting safety.
Even though he's a corner.
Right, but what did they give up to do it? I mean, just to
5th and a 6th. 5th next year, 6th the following.
To us, it's an easy trade to make.
Mm-hmm. Now they're going to have to pay him. I mean, part of the reason the Saints traded him was
they couldn't get a deal done.
His contract was coming up, and they're like, well, listen, either we got to sign him or. Now, if I were the Saints, I would have kept him, because you would have gotten a compensatory pick. And even if it only would have been like a 5th rounder, I mean, so you would have gotten another year out of them, and you get a 5th rounder, say, in compensation, as opposed to trading him away and getting a 5th and a 6th. I mean, I could argue, we got a really good team this year. I'm going to keep him. Never mind, guys may get hurt and what have you, and you decide you want to pay him. So I would have paid him if I was the Saints. I would not have traded him away. It also shows you, though, how good they feel about their team.
Well, that was in their defense in particular.
Oh,
which is
we think it potentially, it's certainly top 8 in the league. It could be top 5, which will take a lot of pressure off Jameis.
Okay, top 8, top 5, but in the NFC, where does that then rank?
Boy,
you know what I'm getting at here.
Mm-hmm.
You may be a top 5, top 8, but they may be top 3 as far as NFC defenses go.
Well, it helps that the quarterback play is not as good in that conference. So I think every defense can be a little higher ranked versus the defense. But Pittsburgh is a defense that we all would rank ahead of New Orleans.
Chargers, maybe.
Yeah,
probably
because of the changes that they made. You could gash them running the football last year. I don't think you'll be able to do that this year.
Niners are close, but again.
But yeah, they could be top 3 NFC.
And they're certainly obviously the best in their division, and we'll see how that all plays out.
So something to keep an eye on later on today. It's going to be a lot more player movement, particularly with so many days still. I mean, we're 8 days away from just the Rams and the Bills. You got 28 teams in the league, don't have to get their rosters really settled till September 10th.
Miller and Moulton. And the good news is, at least with, and I happened to look up and we laughed. I've been having fun watching the backup quarterback carousel go around because we've got teams without backup quarterbacks in both Dallas and Detroit.
But apparently Detroit's going with Nate Sudfeld. Of all the quarterbacks that got let go yesterday, Nate Sudfeld, who has never at any moment in his career proven he can play in the NFL. This is staggering. He was dreadful in Niners camp this year. Dreadful. And the Lions think he's the best option to be their number 2? What am I missing?
I don't think you're missing anything. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
opponent.
Two 0-1.
They beat Houston badly in 69. They beat the Canes in 82. And they tied Georgia Tech in 53. Number 3, Georgia Tech. Florida was unranked. They were ranked in the other two.
So Joy Taylor is leaving Cowherd Show?
Oh, she is?
Jason McIntyre is the new co-host.
Yeah, from the Big Lead. They've been buddies for a while.
Taylor's joining Emmanuel Akko and LaShawn McCoy on FS1's show that airs at 4:30.
Want to do Big 12, Pac-12 media rights here?
Yeah.
Tell you what, when it, you won't probably be here, but when December comes and we actually have cold days, I'm going to be in a park in here.
Well, I'd like to think it'll be off.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Golly.
Dandy, it's a hell of a point. Day to day, aren't we all?
15 seconds.
Thank you, Keith Oberman.
Vamos.
Isn't that
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It's not often a 22-year-old can have a heart attack. I think Felipe just had a mini one there. Well, to err is human, but to really things up, you need a computer. I don't know if you've ever heard that, Mark.
Never.
Thanks so much for being with us. The home stretch on this hump day. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when, all coming up in a little less than 20 minutes.
So the Big 12 made a little announcement this morning. They're opening their Fox and ESPN are going to open talks with the Big 12 about their next television deal. Now they've got a couple more years left on their contract.
Right.
And this seems like a pretty smart move to me by the Big 12 to try to get out in front of the Pac-12 with whatever. I mean, because that's who you're competing against. You're not competing against the Big 10 and the SEC, and the ACC is locked into their rights for however many years.
Through the middle of next decade.
Right. So, I think the ACC would love to do this, and ESPN would pat them on the head and say, well, that's cute. But no, we'll just keep this the way that it is. But this seems to me to be trying to get out in front of the Pac-12.
And also the motivation for ESPN, if they can make the Big 12 happy, then maybe the Big 12 will willingly release Oklahoma and Texas a year early to join the ESPN conference. The SEC. So I think it's a twofer here for ESPN.
And maybe for Fox, too, because they want to open up more Big Ten games.
Let me ask you this, by the way. You're running a network. Which conference are you interested in, Big 12 or Pac-12? Now, because remember, you're negotiating for a Big 12 that's going to be without Oklahoma and Texas.
Right.
We all know they're adding, UCF and Cincinnati and Houston and BYU. So that's your Big 12. Pac-12, they have 2 openings. Right now, let's assume they only have 2. And they're going to be replaced by San Diego State and somebody.
I would lean Big 12 because of a couple of reasons. First off, I know that UCF is not one of the big 3 in Florida, but their alumni base is going to be growing substantially, and it is Florida. It's a big market that they're in, that they're getting something there. You're still getting a lot of the state of Texas who's interested in Big 12 football. I still think that they will be. I no matter with Texas and A&M leaving, the rest of the state, I still think you've got a lot of Big 12 football. And then the last part of it is, if I'm entering into a business deal with the Pac-12, I know I could probably get out of it. And I know I know I can get out of it when 2 more teams leave, but I don't know what Pac-12 I'm getting in bed with. When Kevin Warren said, well, we may go to 20, and everybody seems to think that it's Pac-12 schools, namely Oregon and Washington. What's left of the Big 12 if I lose those 2 schools?
You mean the Pac-12?
Pac-12, I'm sorry. What's left?
No, there's no doubt. And I said, let's assume that it stays with just the 2 defections, and then they'll replace USC and UCLA with San Diego State and.
Yeah. And
now I would try, if I was the Pac-12, to get BYU to pull a 180 and not go to the Big 12, but come to me. Say, come on, you get to play Utah. That's what I would do if I was, because to me, BYU is a better partner than Boise State.
100%.
And I don't know that I can do any better. Think about the other schools that are out there. Either the New Mexicos, Colorado State. Where are you going to go? Now, you don't have to be geographically fit. We've seen that. But even if you want to venture out of your comfort zone, where are you going to go?
Oklahoma State?
I don't think.
I'm
right. I don't think that they would leave the Big 12.
But with Oklahoma leaving to the
understand
SEC, and I don't know if any of the Texas schools would. That's why I picked Oklahoma State.
No, I got it.
Kansas?
Unfortunately, it's all about football.
Right.
That's a basketball school. Do you raid, Memphis? Are you trying to raid what's left of the AAC? You want to get crazy and go South Florida? USF, I mean, the problem is they got nobody else. See, that's the other thing. You want to do these things in twos. And I think it's a dunk they're taking San Diego State. And I have felt that was a sleeping school.
And now with an on-camp or a new stadium.
Yeah, 35,000. And it
in a market that has one team. I mean, it has the Padres. They've lost everything else.
Correct.
This team will get a lot of media exposure in their market.
Well, and the community is embracing San Diego State. They're making it their second professional team. They're supporting the basketball program's a traditional top 25 school now. I mean, remember, that's who FGCU beat in the second round when they went to the Sweet 16. They beat San Diego State. And they were a 7 seed. They've been a top 25 program for about a dozen years now in basketball, and they've got some tradition in football, and it's not like they can't get their hands on talent. They are in California.
Where would you go? Pac-12 or Big 12?
What school am I?
No. Where would you go if you were a network? Same question you asked me.
I would go Big 12 because I think the Pac-12 has the better chance of being imploded. I don't know that there's much in the Big 12 that the SEC and or the Big 10 would come asking for.
And I don't think there's any.
I think there's a chance if the Big 10's getting – the funny thing is that, is it possible the SEC and the Big 10 actually make a trade? Because I actually think Missouri would rather be in the Big 10. And I actually think SEC wouldn't mind them leaving. Problem is they got to get something in return. There's got to be another school out there to replace them with. Because if Missouri was in the Big 10, I think the Big 10 would then be interested in Kansas.
Who are you trading?
Yeah, and I don't know that there's a trade partner.
Maryland wouldn't let you.
Well, and it's, it's not like the SEC's interested in Nebraska. If you know what I mean.
Right.
Who would probably love to get back to playing Oklahoma and Texas, but, they don't have the value. They might have if they hadn't done the onside kick. Digress.
Wow. It's still right there, the Scott Frost. I mean, it really is right there.
But there's 3 years left on the Fox/ESPN Big 12 contract. There are many that believe that Oklahoma and Texas stay for this year and next year, but that something gets done so that they can be in the SEC for 2024. It's the Big 12's last chance to get a check from them. So, it's kind of like, you're going to lose someone in free agency. Do you hold on to them for one final year, or do you go, well, I can still get something of value here, and we're going to lose them anyway, so why don't we just trade them and start the divorce a year early?
I am just incredibly curious with both the Pac-12 and the Big 12, what type of money they get from these networks.
Well, I don't know that it's more money than what the ACC has.
I don't know how it could be. The value's not there to me. It really is not.
Well, it's about $34 million a school. You think you can get 34 million times 12, that's an annual deal of, about 4 and change.
No, I don't think either of them can get that.
Now, got to remember, for BYU and for UCF and for Cincinnati and for Houston, whatever you guys can negotiate, that's a big thumbs up, baby. Good job. It's the other 8 schools that are like, what?
Miller and Moulton. Little conference television talk as we get ready for the good, the bad, the ugly. Today was a day when and what's on tap. It's next on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Four is my go-to unless I've got this done, and then I'll sleep till like after 4:30.
Wow, you're fat. I get up. I got crap to do in the morning. I just kind of laugh. Like I've got my whole routine set
I
up.
don't have dog anymore,
It's 10 minutes,
right?
and then I mean, even going up kissing the daughter every morning. So sometimes she wants to talk for 5, but it's like my goal is to be completely out of the shower and sitting down at like 5, because I like to have a cup of coffee at home before I come here. Then I'm in heaven. Then I got 20 minutes to read through everything and make sure I didn't miss anything.
Oh.
30 seconds.
That would be never, Nell Skier. That would be never. Our ship has sailed.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes until the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Roy Cummings will join us tomorrow. Our weekly PFN guest will join us tomorrow as well. That's Pro Football Network, for those of you that don't know. So I believe tomorrow we're going to start with Matt Canada.
Sounds like a plan.
Who's got a lot of insight into the Dolphins on a regular basis. So we'll do Dolphins and Bucks tomorrow. Matt Canada, Roy Cummings, and then the following Thursday, when the regular season kicks off that night with Bills Rams, that's when we start with the doctor. Dr. Roto makes his house calls.
I do need a fantasy football prescription this year.
Well,
victory would be nice.
That's why he's on the show. So there you go.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We start in 1895 today, which is recorded as the first pro football game. I have no idea who played. I know the score, and I know it was a pro football game because quarterback John Brayler was paid $10, and he won 12-0.
So that's why it was a pro football game?
Yep, because John Brayler got paid.
We don't know if anybody else did?
Just John, the QB.
Sure it wasn't a college game with just like a $10 handshake? You know, the famous Texas $100 handshakes, maybe back in 95?
Right. Just a $10 handshake?
Just a $10 handshake.
Edison patented the device which produces moving pictures today in 1897.
The kinetograph, right?
Yes. In 1903, the New York Giants' future Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher, Joe McGittney, wins his third doubleheader of the month, David. Beating the Phillies 4-1 and 9-2 at the Polo Grounds.
All right. How many of you growing up, you just pitched all day? Pitched all day. Me and my buddies up against the wall, with the strike zone in chalk up on the wall.
Oh, you did we used the lounge chair, like the yard,
Oh, okay. And if you hit it, it was a strike?
Yeah, if you hit it, was a strike.
Huh.
That was the strike zone.
No, we did the chalk. All in the apartment complex. Didn't matter from the top of the complex to the bottom of it. You saw these white strike zones.
I love it. 1920, Detroit radio station 8MK, now WWJ, was the first to broadcast a news program on the air. David, I believe the program director said, "We're going to do the news." That was really just for three people. Two of them are in this room. 46, Foghorn Leghorn makes his debut in Walkie-Talkie Hockey.
I say.
1951, the first 33 1/3 album was introduced. 50 years ago today in Munich, Olga Kolbert wins gold on the beam and the floor, and Mark Smits gets the Olympic butterfly double.
All right. I am going to say this. I will take all the grief that you want to send my way. And I don't just mean you. I mean all our listeners, Felipe, everybody. Go find the routine from Olga Corbett. I'm serious. It's very short. It's the beam. It's less than a minute. Wait, is it beam or the...
She won beam and floor.
Okay. She does they put it out there yesterday. So I'm wondering if yesterday was the anniversary of the uneven bars. Apparently, half her routine you can't do anymore because it's too dangerous. They outlawed 3 of her moves. It's amazing. I looked at it and I went, oh my goodness.
I'm not giving you grief. I thought you were going to knock her.
No,
I was expecting
no.
you to bash something that she did and give some obscure stat of why she shouldn't have won gold.
No.
That's what you had me prepared for.
No.
Take all the grief. You just said something really nice about it. No one's going to give you grief for that.
By the way, if you're old enough, Olga Corbett, remember Wide World of Sports in the intro? She was the gymnast who was on the beam, all right, and she was lying on the beam face down, and they had a shot, and she was staring into the camera, and she winks at the camera. That was Olga Corbett.
Today in 1987, friend of the show, Curtis Strange, sets golf's earnings records for the year. Do you want to guess what the earnings records for the year was in 1987?
In 87, yeah. I'll take a flyer. 700,000.
Wow, did you just win both showcases? $697,385.
Went over, though.
Yeah, but that's pretty damn good, David.
Well, and the only reason is that I think it was a handful of years later that somebody finally got to $1 million.
Today in 87, Michael Jackson's Bad video premieres on CBS. No, he wasn't a big deal or anything.
No, not at all.
Today in 1990, Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. became the first father and son to play on the same team. The pair hit back-to-back singles in the first inning and both scored.
And I don't know if Piniella was the manager at the time, but whoever the manager was, when they was playing them regularly, and one would play left field and the other would play center, and the son obviously played center, but dad batted second and kid batted third.
Today in 1991, Metallica released their self-titled album, Metallica. It would be number 1 for 4 weeks. In 1994, the Pentium computer beats Kasparov in chess. It was 25 years ago today that Princess Diana would die in a car crash in a tunnel in Paris.
She was 36 years old.
Today in 2009, the Walt Disney Company announces it will acquire Marvel for $4.24 billion. And 10 years ago, Argo was released. And today, today was a day when Gorbachev passed. If you've not heard the news, the former Russian premier died today. Those also born today that are no longer with us: Buddy Hackett, and Frank Robinson, and Claudell Washington.
I loved Claudell Washington.
I had so many of his baseball cards. I can't even, all with the Braves.
I just remembered he hit 3 homers in a game one time for a bad Mets team.
Those celebrating birthdays today: Isaiah Aoki is 80 years old today. Van Morrison, 77. Richard Gere is 73.
And
I'll pause and let you make a couple jokes.
And looks really good.
So does the hamster. Edwin Moses is 67. Debbie Gibson is 52. Podrick Harrington and Chris Tucker are both 51. Larry Fitzgerald is 39. And Jalen Brunson is 26 years old today.
I'm assuming that Larry Fitzgerald is the wide receiver.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of Larry Fitz, saw a stat yesterday. You know he had more tackles in his career than drops? That's like a Tony Gwynn stat.
Wow.
Yeah, he apparently had something like 17 years, I think, was his career. And I don't think he's officially retired yet, but I mean, we know he's played his last game. But I think the stat is something like 36 tackles and 29 drops. I mean, how ridiculous is that?
Damn ridiculous, David.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
One of my favorite goods that we've ever had. Port Charlotte is where we go, and Rick Fardo is the guy. Rick Fardo got married. Before he got married, he told his now ex-wife, I don't want children. I want my cars. I want to travel. I don't want kids touching my stuff. Then he got separated from his wife. And on a whim, he decided to take in foster children. That led to him adopting 10 of them.
Wow, that's changing your tune.
No kidding. Jason, one of Rick's sons, says he basically saved all of our lives. He took us from these really bad places in our lives and just gave us the opportunity to be what we want to be. He raised most of the boys in the Midwest before moving to Florida, and now he lives in Port Charlotte. What a great story. For the bad, we go to Cape Coral. I mean,
stop it.
Why?
Because
don't walk in Cape Coral. That's all I'm telling you. Because apparently, as someone was walking the gritty streets of Cape Coral, a BMW drove by and shot him on their backside with a water pellet gun.
A water pellet gun?
Yep, right in the ass.
This made the news?
Are you kidding me?
A water pellet gun?
Shooting someone on the gritty streets of Cape Coral.
Am I missing something here? It's just, it's water, right?
It's coming out of a gun shooting someone, regardless on the street. I mean, it's a pellet gun. Like a BB gun. If it was a BB gun, would you feel differently?
Well, yeah, I would. So I'm wondering, so they're water pellets?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're pellets filled with water, yes. It would still sting. It would still scare the bejibbers out of you if you're walking the street.
It would. It would get your attention. There's no doubt about it. I was hit with a BB gun when I was like, 9, 10 years old. I was hitting the left calf while walking. Some guy was shooting out the balcony and thought I was holding my lunchbox there.
Wanted the ting off that
and
broken back lunchbox.
Right. My NFL lunchbox, by the way. And he missed and hit my leg. So fortunately, it's the only time I've been shot in my life. I was 9.
For the ugly, we go to the friendly skies, well, at least the Southwest Airlines friendly skies, where a Southwest Airlines pilot during a flight to Cabo took to the plane's intercom and threatened to return the aircraft to its departure gate if the passengers didn't stop sending him nude photos via the phone's airdrop feature. He got over the intercom and said, so here's the deal. If this continues while we're on the ground, I'm going to have to pull back to the gate. Everybody's going to have to get it off. We're going to have to get security involved, and your vacation is going to be ruined.
Wow. Somebody needed a Snickers.
So you folks, whatever this airdrop thing is, quit sending naked pictures and let's get yourself to Cabo, ordered the pilot.
Yeah.
And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 31st, 2022.
All right. One more day. You got to wait till you're just getting football for, seemingly 5 full months. Yankees and Angels wrap up their series out west. Rays in Miami to face the Marlins. 6:40 is when that one starts. 3 afternoon games. Rangers, Brewers, Giants all at home this afternoon. I'll say it again. Final time the Brewers are playing the Pirates this year, and that's a good thing for Milwaukee. Pittsburgh's owned them.
And my Orioles got to get it going. They've been scuffling a little bit here. They've got to find themselves a good week. They are in Cleveland. They were whacked yesterday by the Guardians.
Big week for the Guardians. 3 against Baltimore and then 3 against Seattle, all at home. Seattle right now the 5 seed, Baltimore the 7 seed. Guardians trying to win the division, but if not, something to fall back on. So big week for the Guardians at home. There you go.
And other than that, just check the waiver wires today because your team is probably going to be trying to add a player or two unless your team's the Buffalo Bills.
Did you see the comments Bruce Arians made? He said this is the best roster that we've had since I've been here. Huh.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, it's cap. He's capping.
Excuse me?
He's putting a cap on the truth. The truth bottle, he's capping it.
I knew there was something going on there.
No, I did as well, but I'm glad that you asked because I was going to be right behind you. You know, the old guys asking the youngin' at the holiday dinner table. Listen before you leave the dining room and go sit where you're assigned to sit. What do you mean?
Yeah, he would be moved immediately to the kids' table with a comment like that.
It's cap. I mean,
okay, he's capping. I mean,
So if he's capping, he's lying.
Yes, cap is falsehood.
All right, because if you're getting capped, you're getting shot.
That's
so
true.
So when you were saying, he's capping, and I'm like, who the heck's Bruce Arians shooting? So glad we clarified that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think if he had a couple drinks in him and he was out on the golf course, I think anything was possible. But this was just an interview. So he was capping, Mark.
He was capping.
Damn.
Maybe, that might be what we need Philly for, is once a show.
Right.
To get us in on the
The
Gen
ling-
Z lingo.
There you go.
Ugly bag of water in our Twitch chat room. I learned something new today. Thanks, Philly. You do know I'm going to use that the whole rest of the day.
No cap.
Okay.
Don't worry about it this week. Use it next week with Danielson.
Right. Right. Uh-huh. Saturday, we're doing Arizona, San Diego State. We get
those blue cards.
Right. Yep.
He's capping.
Right. We get to commercial. He asked me a question, and I go, "You capping me?" Right. Uh-huh. That'll be another job I lose.
He didn't use that correctly there, did he? The "you capping me." Is that?
Well, that's just
you had a very
you-
negative head shake.
So I'll just look at Gary and go, "Are you capping?"
You just got to say that's cap. That's cap.
That's cap.
That's cap.
See, now I'm thinking cap or neck.
That's exactly what.
And then if something is undeniable, no cap. No cap. That's facts. FAX, like a fax machine. Facts.
I weep
feel
for
like
the youth.
I feel like Hawk Harrelson. You gotta be bleeping me.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he gone.
Could say that. You're capped.
You have to remember that I am the age of most of these NFL players, like rookies.
No. I understand it. Right. No, we know your role on the show. It's just sometimes, you don't think Andy Reid sometimes says to his wide receiver, what do you mean?
That's true.
Coach, man, that's cap. Gotcha. What do you mean?
Why is my hat on incorrectly?
Right,
What are
yeah.
you talking about?
What do you mean?
I thought I put this on perfectly straight.
Okay. I'll have to go home and talk to my grandkids. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Make sure you're running a lap. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa